sector and explore the huge potential and possibilities in the coastal communities. And this is going to be really, really very interesting. So as we all know that we have various technical sessions throughout the day and the very next day also. But today, right now, I will be taking you on for a virtual tour. I'm sure you must have got all your links, virtual links. And just to start with, because this is a live online event and we are going to follow a few rules and regulations for our online event, which is very important. What happens is when we all are connected online, there are certain things which are very important. One, because we can't really converse one-on-one, the conversations are limited to our chat boxes. So anything, any query you have, any question you have, any interaction you want to do about your particular CVID query, you can sit later on. Second thing, which is very important, then once we are going to have this virtual tour with us, we will be able to know what exactly we are going to have in this particular CVID 2021 seminar, which is going to be really very interesting. So I think if you have your links ready or you have any query, you probably can really share on the chat box so our team can address it right.
नहीं अभी मीटिंग चल रहा है मतलब इवेंट चालू है तो मैं कुछ जगह लाइव होने वाली
So once again, who all are logged in with us, welcome one and all once again. And as I just explained, we have a chat box with us. So if you have any sort of query, anything you would like to discuss, you can do it in a chat session. Although we all know that, we are going to have our technical sessions little late, in the sense it is going to be starting from 10:15 to 11 onwards. And before that, we are going to take you through our virtual networking and interaction session sort of thing. See, the best part about the virtual networking is that sitting at your home, you can enter into the virtual understanding of how this conference is going to be. So you have your link ready, you probably can click on your links, and then, one by one, you have a clear slots available. There are tabs. If you will press your exhibition A, exhibition B, or networking, you can see that under your links once you open the links. So you have everything readily available. This is quite self-explanatory. So you will not be having any problem. The only thing you will require is the good connection. So this is my request to all of you, that you must be aware which is your strongest networking area where you find the best signals. Please be seated there. Stay tuned, stay glued. There is a lot which is going to happen. We are going to have this nice unveiling and the release of our newsletter as well. And there are going to be a lot of respectable speakers, presenters who are going to present a lot about how CVID can help you in your businesses and your future, maybe possibilities of work. And you know about AgriPost. AgriPost has always been quite forthcoming into how you can enhance your business and your possibilities in the areas of agriculture, aquaculture, and food processing. And we have been doing events all throughout, all your help and all your support. So we would like to thank you for all your support and help which you have provided till now. And we just hope that today's event also you are going to be quite forthcoming. And we are really thankful to all of you for being here in a good strength. And please stay connected throughout the event. We all have a lot to learn from each other. My name is Gitanjali R. Soni, and I'm your host for this day and next day as well. And I don't know if you would have heard me on radio sometime, but I have been fortunate that I am connected to AgriPost, and I have been learning quite a lot about aquaculture, agriculture, and of course today we are going to learn about the seaweed, how it is going to affect. So if we all are ready for our virtual sessions, so you probably can show me thumbs up in the chat session and we can go about it. So yes, I can see people are ready. So if we are good to go, so I'll request my team to start the live networking link. So we probably can guide people through, walk them through the live networking presentation. All right, so kindly open your links. I'm sure that you must have opened your links by now. So once you'll open your link, it will take you through your virtual chart. Can you see that? So kindly let us know if you are able to log in your links, because I'm going to take you through. Trying to open it here. So you see the tabs under your links. So those tabs, in fact, you can yourself click on those particular tabs and you will see the face of your lobby area. You can see the lobby area. So this exactly is the lobby area of our virtual tour. So beautiful, so colorful. I'm sure you must be enjoying it. It is going to take a while. You'll see that ring which is there on your screen. All right. It's taking a while to open up. So once you'll get into the lobby, you are good to go. You're absolutely good to go. Okay. So now through our lobby, we'll take you to a conference room. You see that? All right. So on this particular conference, you see there is a link which says click here to join webinar. So once you enter into the conference area, you can join the webinar through this link. So you just have to click the link and you will be joining the webinar. I hope it is clear for everyone. If you have any query or you're having any difficulty, you can ask our team on the chat box. I'm sure this is very easy. There's no complication as such. And now you will see exhibition A. Now this exhibition A, it's a beautiful hall where we are having various stalls, and these particular stalls are going to take you through the areas which you would like to visit. So you will see these stalls here in the exhibition area. So once you will click the link, you will see there are many stalls under exhibition A. You can click on the stall and visit that particular stall. Okay. So if you will see, we have various lists. So the first one is, of course, I'm sure you'll be able to read it. There is a little opening time with us here. So if it is open there in your particular screen, then you can have a look at all the exhibition stalls. So these stalls are available at your disposal. So once you are reaching those stalls and you have any query or you would like to know more about it, how you can do it will come in the later part of this presentation. Same is the case with the exhibition B. You will click on exhibition B and you have another virtual area where are again many stalls option. So any stall you would like to visit, you can click on that particular stall and you can visit. It's the same very easy process, no complication as such. Now let's come to the networking area. Now what does networking do? As the name suggests, networking area is going to take you to people you would like to interact with. So you can have the live video calling, you can have the live chat sessions with each other. This is for the people, your fellow participants who have logged in and they are participating in this particular virtual tour. So you can have interaction or maybe any query you have, you can do so through the networking section. So I think this is quite easy. There is no complication as such because I don't see much of a concern here. I don't have much of a query in my chat session right now about the networking or maybe the virtual tour. So I think we are pretty much good to go with our virtual tour. So in any case, while operating, if you will have any issue, if you feel that you need to be more aware on certain aspect of it, then you can always message us. So I hope that we all have logged in. It's already 10 and very soon we are going to start our technical session. And to know more about Seaweed India 2021. You have to just stay with us throughout the day. And this is a 2 days event. As I've told you before, this is today's 26th and tomorrow 27th. So I'm sure you are going to have a lot of information from our various presenters, speakers, and eminent guests as well. And one thing is for sure that your purpose of joining Seaweed 2021 is going to be magnified after you are going to be through with the presentations, because you will understand what exactly Seaweed has in store for all of us who are looking for the best possibilities in a professional manner. So if you have any queries, once again, I would like to request all the participants who are with us here to please address your queries in our chat session. We'll be happy to address them as well. If you have any query about the virtual networking interaction, please do so. I'm sure that you are operating your virtual presentations right now. So while doing so also, if you need more help or you need some information, you can just feel free to ask us. Please keep on asking us. So as you see in Exhibition A, we have various stalls: SCLT Marine Group, Nutrira Group, ICAR-CIFT, and then we have CMFRI, then ICAR-CIFE, RKLG Project Center we have, Zero Circle, Smart AgriPost, Mr. Yummy, and Seaweed itself. So you have various listing of the stall like P1, P2, P3, SP1, SP2, so on and so forth. So you can click on any particular stall you would like to visit. As I mentioned before, same goes for Exhibition B as well. All the listings are there. So it is very, very simple. And the best part about virtual tours are that, sitting at home, wherever you are at your comfort, looking at the conditions right now, which are really, really challenging for all of us, which has been from last, say, about almost 2 years. So I think this has been our sole, we could say, operating system. So as you see, Exhibition B, we have ICAR, CMFRI, NFDB, again, ICAR-CIFE, Global Agri-System, the lifecart.in, Seaweed, ICAR-CIFT, Aquapost, and AIFPA. So these are the stalls listed under Exhibition B. Any stall you will click on, you will have detailed information about it. So basically, the idea is to provide you the most comfortable experience for your information, especially about the Seaweed, which is this particular seminar all about, Seaweed India 2021, which is going to open tons of possibility. And maybe if we have any query about certain things, which you are going to be listening in upcoming technical sessions, so you'll be knowing much better about them. And rest, your participation is extremely important. Without your participation, we really can't pull anything through. So your participation and active participation, keep on interacting. So we know that, you're connected and you need to learn more, you need to know more. So there is actually, everything is going to be really smooth if you will follow the process. Once again, I'm Gitanjali R. Soni. I am an anchor for your show today and tomorrow. And I work for radio and television, so probably you must have seen me somewhere, sometime. And I can see few faces on my screen, although I really can't. I'm not having a lot of information about the participation as yet. But I'm really glad this event is going to bring a lot of information for all of us, which is definitely going to provide us a lot of, I would say, professional stability in the field of seaweed. And we all are knowing about the possibility. We need to know the possibility and potential of the seaweed. So if you all are through with your virtual experience, then we probably can start very soon with our inaugural session. Once again, I would request everyone, if you have any query, if you would like to know anything, address anything, please write to us on our chat boxes so we know that you are interacting if you need to know something. So good morning and namaskar. As we have been connected since 9:30 in the morning, and we know that this has been a beautiful, I would say, interesting virtual ride for all of us who had joined in. So I would like to extend my heartfelt welcome on behalf of AgriPost. And I'm Gitanjali Soni. I'm going to be hosting the event tonight. All the esteemed guests who have joined in right now, you're most welcome because you have in fact, graced us with your presence for the Seaweed India 2021, which is a 2 days event. And I'm sure this is going to open up new corridors for many of us. So in a good note, that this brings a lot of prosperity and happiness in these difficult times. Let's just clap for everyone who have joined in today. The only downside to the online events is that we really can't interact one-on-one. We can't see each other. I mean, in that open space. But it's my request to everyone who has joined in that please give your full participation through your chat boxes. You can participate, you can connect with us. And we are really proud that you all have been a great support always for the aquaculture, for everything which is related to this particular event. And now this is the best time to have this inauguration. And as you know that, this event is always of a great matter for one person who has been, I think, a backbone for events like this, Mr. Pravash Pradhan. He needs no introduction as such. He's our chief editor of Smart AgriPost and AquaPost. And in fact, all of us, we know Pravash very well, how passionate he is about his agriculture and aquaculture and all the magazines he has written for, and his vast experience have added a lot to all these events. So Pravash Pradhan, he's a senior journalist, we all know. He's a communication specialist and entrepreneur. He's working as a chief editor of Smart AgriPost, AquaPost, and Indian Food Packer. And these magazines, they cover agriculture, aquaculture, and food processing sectors, respectively in India and outside. Besides that, he has interest in social enterprises and works for the socio-economic development of the village community. He also speaks on current agriculture and allied sector, which is related to policy and economic issues. So this is a brief intro about Pravash. Now, Pravash, I would request you to step in and kickstart the event. Pravash Pradhan, friends.
Sir, namaskar. Yeah, so am I audible? Let's go. Hello?
You're audible now, Pravash.
Yeah, sir, namaskar. Sir, namaskar. Yeah. So, in fact, good morning, everyone. So, it is indeed my pleasure to welcome all of you to the Seaweed India 2021. So, it is an honor and a privilege to welcome our chief guest, Sri James Wine, Secretary Department of Fisheries, Government of India. I also welcome Dr. J.K. Jena, DDG Fisheries, ICR, Government of India, Dr. J. Balaji, Joint Secretary, Department of Fisheries, Government of India, and to all distinguished speakers and participants. And I must mention also, I must welcome to CMFRI Director and the Mandapam Center, Ms. Dr. Jay Kumar Johnson, to facilitate and to arrange the fishermen to join directly in the conference. I think they are live with us also with the conference from Mandapam, Tamil Nadu. So I am sure all of you are aware of government's priority about the seaweed sector and its development. And the government has also taken a lot of initiatives under Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampad Yojana to boost the production, processing for facilities. But I will call it as a major thrust under the Blue Revolution. Sometimes I feel that it is the second phase of the Blue Revolution. The way the shrimp farming had revolutionized the fisheries sector, I believe the seaweed sector has the potential to revolutionize and bring income to the coastal community. So that is the focus and key area. Yeah, it is our first engagement with the seaweed community through conference, though I have been writing regularly on different subjects and of aquaculture. Uh, but sometimes the big issues, what is happening with the seaweed sector, the issues which the seaweed sector is facing. So similar to aquaculture and other agriculture sectors also. The basic issues what I found while interacting with the academicians, scientists, and entrepreneurs and producers. Basically, shortage of seed for the farming and diversification of species, climate change, and processing and value additions. I think these 4 or 5 areas which are very critical for development of any sector, whether we call it aquaculture, we call it agriculture. And apart from that, I think leasing out the sea and coast land for the entrepreneurs might be a bigger challenge also. And it is since it is a state subject, probably state governments have to take care and with the consultation of the central governments. And I must say about a few lines about our objective in organizing this conference. Basically, when we found that there is a serious gap in communication and since having so much potential of seaweed sector and development of the local community, but these are not covered in mainstream media. There is a gap, serious gap. So we found that why not we can have a big platform which will engage the seaweed producers, then the entrepreneurs, then the other stakeholders. So that will be a good idea. So that is why we thought to create this platform. And again, so far engagement is concerned, we want to make it broad-based. We have spoken to several fertilizer associations and industries also. And also we have engaged the All India Food Processors Associations. So they have also taken interest to connect the seaweed sector, the producers, the entrepreneurs. So that will help this sector to grow faster. Yes, and yes, I must mention that in fact already 350 people have registered for this platform, and we have made arrangements through YouTube and Facebook, make it live to reach a larger audience, to connect larger audience, so that we can create a buzz about the seaweed sector and its potential in India. I believe this platform will certainly be much more interactive and help the stakeholders to raise the issues related to seaweed sector. With these words, I once again welcome to all guests and dignitaries and speakers and exhibitors, visitors to this virtual conference. And I must especially, before that, before concluding my speech, I must mention the sponsors. In fact, those who have supported us organizing this conference as a diamond partner, Selt Marine Group, and they have supported us, and also ICR CMFRI, ICR CIFT for their partnership organizing this international conference. Thank you, sir. So I will hand over to Dr. Balaji to give the opening remark and set the tone for the conference and what are the issues the sector is facing, how the industry and the stakeholders can come forward and do activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pravesh Pradhanji. Distinguished Chief Guest, Sri Jitindranath Swain Sir, Mr. J.K. Janad, DDG Fisheries, ICAR, senior scientists who are participating today, the institutions associated with this technology, the directors, especially CMFRI, CSMCRI, invited speakers, entrepreneurs, farmers, and various other stakeholders. Especially, I'm told that from Mandapam, we are having a group of fisher women who are joining this particular today's webinar. I welcome all of you. And I thank Mr. Pradhan for taking a lot of initiative. Since last 6 months, he has been working on these initiatives. Had there not been a COVID situation, we would have a proper physical meetings where we would have discussed threadbare and exchanged our ideas in person, and we would have rather set the tone. However, webinars are also very good. And last few months, we had several of them, even in various sectors of fisheries. And now the seaweed is one area where we have been also working for some time. When we wanted to work with the seaweed, when we understood, when we interacted with some good success stories, which were there in CMF through due to the initiatives of the CSMCRI and the CMFRI, we were very thrilled. When we discussed this internally and we discussed with the scientists of CSMCRI and CMFRI, we found there is a huge possibility for developing the seaweed sector in the country. Then we started more and more trying to understand the sector. We were all new to the sector, and many of our colleagues had some academic understanding. However, we do not have much of the trade side and the scaling up side of the seaweed industry. So when we discussed, we found three issues, key issues. One, I call it as a 3S issues. One is seed is the key issue, what we found. Scale is the key issue we found. And sale is the key issue. Where do you sell? You should have quality seed first, then then there should be a scale in production. And also we should be in a position to sell the product. So these 3S are the key challenges what we have noticed. However, we wanted some head start in this program. We included this as a part of the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, the new flagship scheme which was launched by the Government of India for the fisheries and aquaculture sector. Almost a 3 billion investment initiative of the government to steer the sector. And we have given a lot of emphasis and as a separate component for the seaweed development in the scheme. So a lot of funds and resources rather we have earmarked and for the seaweed development and value chain in the country. And we started our journey. In fact, we are happy to say that around 25 crores of projects we approved last year. And we are also happy to say that that the Honorable Finance Minister in the current year budget speech also has announced a seaweed park for the Tamil Nadu state, which will really help the sector to take off. So we had interaction with a galaxy of scientists. Several experts are even today available today in this webinar also. We have been interacting with the CSMCRA, some pioneer industries who have set up certain farms, especially in southern India. We have some farms which have come up, Tamil Nadu, and they also are very happy about the government's initiative as far as encouraging seaweed in the country. In fact, we are very late, but still we can learn from the other countries. Today we am told by Mr. Pradhan that some of the speakers are from various other countries also are participating for experience sharing, what especially certain southern South Asian countries like Philippines, Indonesia, they are done recently in last 20 years very well as far as the seaweed is concerned. While we are in tropical waters, say so as Philippines and so as Indonesia, but we can have a lot of commonalities from where we can learn and try to emulate. We have a large coastline and 4 million fishers. So we have definitely a huge population. We want to provide additional livelihood opportunities. I was very happy last March, April, I was in Tuticorin, where I interacted with some farmers as a part of my election duty. Then I found that a farmer told me that they have earned 1.5 lakh rupees income during the COVID period because of due to rather from the seaweed as an additional incomes. So the CMFRI Tuticorin has been doing good work as far as this is concerned. So today we have a lot of talks, seminar lined up by Mr. Pradhan, and various the entire value chain is being discussed. We'll be very keen to know on various practical solutions for whatever the gaps we have today in the country, and so that we can participate and take forward, and we can assist the industry. And we are very happy today we have to give the our secretary sir, and whose dynamic leadership we all have been working in the last few months to steer this initiative. And from today's tomorrow's learnings, we are hopeful that we can include, and this will be helpful for us in designing appropriate policies. And under his leadership today, we can, thank you, sir, for coming to this meeting. And with your guidance and with your initiative, I think we can take off in the sector for next 5 years. That is the time frame we are looking at, where we can reach at a higher, maybe one of the top few countries in the world. Today we are nowhere in the picture, and I'm definitely confident that under your leadership we will move ahead and we will reach there. And Mr. Dr. Jana has been very helpful to us in formulation of policies, programs, and initiatives. He has been helping us in last few months, and his valuable guidance and his institutions are always forthcoming. CMFRI, who has done a lot of work as far as the nutraceuticals of the seaweed industry, and they also have a lot of ecosystem build up in Mandapam areas in Tamil Nadu, and some activities are also have done in the Gujarat side. CSMCRI, you all are aware, it is a pioneer in the country. Since 40 years plus, they have been working on the sector. And Kapaf, I guess, Albergy is their contribution to the country, which has really taken off. And with these few words, I will not take much time. I'm hopeful that this seminar and this webinar will be very helpful to all of us. I thank Mr. Pravesh Pradhan for this initiative once again and his team, and I wish this seminar be all success. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. J. Balaji. And I just hope that, with your kind words and your guidance, the 3S challenges which you were talking about, they will no more be a challenge after this seminar. And we all are going to find solutions for seaweed, especially issues, if there is a professional possibilities for people. So thank you so much for your kind presence. And we are so happy that we have our gracious presence. Dr. J.K. Jaina is also with us, DDG Fisheries, ICAR, Government of India. Dr. J.K. Jaina, we would request you to please say a few words.
Good morning, everyone. Most respected Honorable Chief Guest of this today morning, Sri Jatindranath Swamiji, Honorable Secretary, Department of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Government of India, Dr. J. Balaji ji, Joint Secretary, Fisheries, Government of India, Mr. Prabhash Pradhan ji, Chief Editor of Smart Agri Post. I find several other dignitaries present, esteemed invitees, resource person from India and overseas, delegates, farmers friends. I could see the friends from Mandapam area, press and media, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a great honor and privilege for me to be there this morning to share my thought. Thanks to Dr. Prabhash Pradhan, who has given this platform to deliberate on the issues and come out with some roadmap for the future development of seaweed sector in the country. First of all, a sincere greetings to each one of you. I, my own behalf, also like to welcome all the members to delegates to this important deliberation. Friends, over these years, when we talk of fisheries and aquaculture development in the country, we know how much we have done. Last 70 years growth, all of us are quite aware. We have seen this spectacular growth in aquaculture. If you see the aquaculture, last 4 decades, we have grown from maybe 0.37 million ton in 1980 to today we are talking somewhere around 9 million ton, a 25-fold increase in total aquaculture production. Similarly, this has happened mainly because of the in quantum production, in freshwater sector. In the brackish water sector also we have done well. Mr. Prabhas was talking about that. In stream farming sector, also similar growth rate we have witnessed. Again, more than 25-fold increase in production in last 3 decades, from about 28,000 tons in 1988-89. Today we talk of somewhere around 7.5 lakh tons. One sector we lagged behind, of course, was in mariculture sector, open sea farming. But last 5-6 years, we have seen the vibrancy of the sector in the coastal aquaculture sector too, mainly in the cage aquaculture. We have been able to bring several of these species into the farming, whether it is copia, pompano, sea bass, and so forth. We are trying to diversify. We have been all the time trying to have synergy, or in the discussion all the time we have been having with the ministry. Thanks to Mr. Prabhas that he could bring our secretary, Sri Jatindranath Swamiji, to this platform, so that people will be convinced that how the government is serious about the developmental aspects. Friends, so 1 or 2 areas where probably we have not done well, the country like India, is one is on seaweed, another is ornamental sector, which government of India at this point of time has given great emphasis. Last 1.5 years or 2 years, we have been trying to discuss on these 2 areas, how do we take this sector forward. And all of you know, Honorable Prime Minister has been emphasizing on increasing the production, productivity, and whole value chain of these 2 areas, ornamental and seaweed. Again, Dr. Balaji also mentioned in the last in the Independence Day speech from Lal Killa this August 15th, he again reiterated the importance of the seaweed sector to grow.
So there is some audio issue.
Sir, there seems to be some audio issue from your end, sir.
Is it okay?
Yes, sir. It's fine
Okay,
now.
sorry.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry.
Thank you, sir.
We know the sectoral growth over the years. When you talk of seaweed, the institute like CMFRI and CSMCRI, as has been told, have been working in last 4 to 5 decades. We have been all the time taking pride that we have a good diversity of species. Of course, Dr. Dinabandhu Sahu is there, who has been working from Delhi University also. He also would be sharing his thought. We know, we say that although we have 700 species and all, but at least 50 to 60 species which we consider quite economically important. We know the importance of seaweed, whether it is in terms of the agar production, algae or carrageenan production. We have been importing this product over the years, and we know of late, we know the importance of the seaweed in production of bioactive compounds. Besides, in its coastal areas, we know its use as a manure, fodder, so and so forth. We know some of the potential species the country possesses, with like Gracilaria and Gelidiella species and all. Even though the technology of farming, whether raft culture, rope culture and all, has been developed over the years, probably we have not been able to take this technology forward to a commercial level, which we wanted to do probably. But time has come, as Dr. Balaji told, it is late, but maybe we should gear up now to see that we contribute to some extent to the global production. When you talk of global production, today more than 32 million ton of production has been there, and it is the South Asian countries, this region, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, and so forth, have been taking the lead. In spite of the fact that we have good potential again, harvestable potential again, when we say that our harvestable potential is somewhere around 0.25 million ton or 2.26 million ton, still our lending is somewhere around 20,000 tons only. Even from the natural harvest, we have not been able to do. We know the issues which we need not discuss at this platform at this point of time. But it is time has come that we take this farming sector forward to show that whatever demonstrated production level we have been able to achieve, we take it to the farmers field. Friends, besides this also the integration, what we say the IMTA, integrated multi-trophic aquaculture, potential of this technology has been already demonstrated, cage culture and seaweed culture integration, and how it is beneficial in terms of increasing the production has been demonstrated, both in terms of production of seaweed and as also fish production. So time has come that we take this technology forward also. Besides the advantage of the technology, we have been able to demonstrate, besides not only increasing the production, but also in bioremediation, reducing the nitrogen phosphorus level. If you see the cage culture scenario in several of these coastal areas of the globe, this has been a major issue. The nutrient enrichment, nitrogen and phosphorus enrichment has been an issue. Probably integration of such with seaweed can help in bioremediating the water, as well as the carbon sequestration potential of this species has also been demonstrated. So we consider this has been a green technology. That is what we have been talking. When you compare with the other farming technology, whether it is finfish, shellfish farming and all, you need to have input, whether it is food, feed, fertilizer, chemicals, etc., etc. Probably this is a technology where you do not need to give much additional input. No energy input necessary, a climate resilient technology, which we have been talking this technology. But as has been Dr. Balaji also mentioned, over these last few years, we have been able to develop several nutraceutical products, whether it is anti-arthritis, anti-diabetic, osteoporotic, or immune booster, and so on and so forth. Several of the food commodities also we have been able to incorporate. For example, cookies, maybe some snacks, maybe yogurt, nutri-drinks, so on and so forth. So potential has been huge. Potential has been quite huge. So we foresee that in coming years also there will be diversification of the products happening. But as has been told also, there are issues with regard to the seed, quality seed. That has been a major issue. When we talk of whether it is Capopicus, Gracilaria, or Gelidiola, and so on and so forth. Besides this, when you compare with the finfish or shellfish farming, you can transport, for example, you need to do farming in Gujarat or Maharashtra, you can take the seed from Andhra Pradesh or Tamil Nadu by flight for any seed, fish seed, or this seed. But considering the volume of the seed you require for the seaweed farming, it would not be possible to transport such long distance. So we need to have seed bank built in several of the locations. That need to be a priority. We need to be working on improving the quality or the genetic improvement program. We need to be talking whether for the strain improvement for both Capopicus as well as our indigenous seaweed. Probably in coming years, we need to be giving greater emphasis on this. Offshore farming, yes, this is also a great potential we have in coming years. Possibility of some research also in, for example, in vitro culture or something we need to be talking. As Dr. Balaji also mentioned, probably at the end of the day, the farmers should be able to dispose their product. So we need to see that the whole value chain is created so that there is from the seed to the selling is not an issue. We know the issues of Dr. Prabhas was mentioning about the leaching of water. I'm sure once this our fisheries policy is in place, Sri Swainshav is working on that. Probably once this is the fisheries policy in place, probably this issues will be resolved. But at the end of the day, probably one thing is more necessary is, in spite of the fact that we have been working since last 4-5 decades, still knowledge dissemination will remain as a key. We need to have greater emphasis on training program, demonstration, because we think at one place we demonstrate, probably every place it will be replicated. That cannot be the case. That cannot be the case. Probably it is necessary that we have decentralized demonstration program in different places, not only in the Tamil Nadu and Gujarat, but also in all other potential places in the country. All of us know that recently we have been able to assess the potential areas for seaweed farming. Recently, CMFRI has come up. May I request everyone to mute, please?
अरे हम तो 2 अलमीरा दे दिए थे राजेंद्र एग्रीकल्चर यूनिवर्सिटी को।
May I request everyone to?
हमारे पास अभी भी होगा, हम थोड़ा सा निकाल के छांट के।
Dilip Kumar sir, can you switch your mic off?
Please
Tell
mute
everybody
himself.
to mute the mic because there is a lot of disturbance for the speaker. I request everybody, please mute your mic.
The mic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We know at least at present we have some information, preliminary information on the potential areas, about 24,000 hectare area, preliminary estimate as where GIS platform maps are available. So even if we use this, even the 10% of this area, we should be able to produce at least 1 million ton. So I am sure in the next 4-5 years, with the support we will be getting from the Prime Minister Matsya Sampada Yojana, we will be able to take this technology forward so that more entrepreneurs comes to this sector. That is what is the order of the day. Friends, I don't intend to take much time. Already my time is up. I only like to mention, Sir Swain, last 2 years since we are discussing about the Prime Minister Matsya Sampada Yojana having more synergy on bringing to see that this seaweed farming progresses. Last 1.5 years, we have organized as many as 17 training programs involving more than 3,000 participants. And we have again set a milestone in the next 5 years, at least 10,000 farmers we should be able to train, not only through virtual means, but also definitely in physical means that would be necessary. And as many demonstration is possible. And as on today, even today itself, we have about 90 plus families are involved in the demonstration program, involving about 1,800 rafts and all by the Mandapam Center of CMFRI. So I'm sure only I can assure and reassure to Sir Swain and all other stakeholders who are here in this platform that anytime we wish to have technical backstopping from us, will be there all the time for support by the CMFRI on not only from the headquarters, but also all the center of CMFRI. And as has been told, CSM, CRI, and all of us should be able to discuss every now and then. And all the issues we should be able to resolve in coming days. And with all the resource person we have with us, probably we can take their support as and when necessary, and to see that this technology reaches to a new height. Thank you very much, Mr. Prabhasji, for the opportunity you have provided, and we'll be there all the time for any help and guidance. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. J.K. Jaina. This was, in fact, quite informative. You have information which you have provided. You have also highlighted the concern areas and told us the solutions also we can have about it. So we are really grateful for that. And now it's about time that we should invite our Honorable Chief Guest, Sri Jatendra Nath Swain. He's an IAS, Secretary, Department of Fisheries, Government of India. I would request our Honorable Chief Guest to please release our newsletter, which is going to be of prime importance. So I will request my team to be ready to release the newsletter. So let's just welcome our Chief Guest, Sri Jatendra Nath. So
This is not the newsletter.
So this is our newsletter.
No, not this is. I think he has said the wrong one. Just say that.
I would request our team
yes,
to please.
Team just. Chitruba, just please share the right newsletter. Could you please share it?
Also, once again, I would request everyone who has joined in through online platform that once our speakers are there, they are speaking, kindly mute your mic, kindly mute your mic. Otherwise, the next presenter who's going to present, they get disturbed like it happened in Dr. J.K. Jenna's case. So please, we have few rules which we have to follow when we are on online event. So one is that we have to, of course, when it's our time, then we have to switch on the mic. And second is, for all the presenters, we have a strict timeline. Because otherwise the time of the event is going to be extended. So once we are presenting, we have to just manage within the time slot which we have got. And I can see that we have our newsletter there on the screen. So once again, thank you everyone, all the participants, our honorable guest, our chief guest, for being with us. And this newsletter looks quite interesting. So over to our chief guest now.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Am I audible? It's okay?
Yes, sir, you are.
I could not really hold the newsletter, so it's a virtual release.
Yes, sir, in the virtual.
Yes,
Many apologies. Dr. J.K. Jenna, DDG Fisheries, my colleague Dr. Balaji, the organizer and prime mover behind this very momentous event, Seaweed India 2021. Mr. Pravas Pradhan, Chief Editor, Smart Agri Post. I can see a lot of, I can see Professor Dinavan Sau is a very old friend of mine from Delhi University, and the scientists who have been kind enough to attend this webinar and to share their thoughts. The ICAR institutions like CMFRI, CSNCRI, and the scientists, staff, the fisherwomen who have joined from Mandapam, media personnel. I extend a very good morning to all of you. We know I will be fairly brief in my speech because Dr. Balaji and Dr. Jenna, they have already covered the introduction in fair amount of detail. We all know that seaweed is going to be the next big thing in Indian primary sector. We had a green revolution in 1966, 1965-66, when we faced a major food shortage. Then we had a white revolution, that is the milk revolution, started in 70s, then 80s and 90s with the help of Amul, and NDDB took hold. Then silently, primarily through private sector support, the poultry industry has taken a big hold in this country. And from 2010, government has put a lot of efforts, a lot of investment, a lot of thought into developing the marine sector, the fishery sector. So from the pure marine capture industry, it has come to aquaculture, both inland as well as brackish water. And now there is talk about culture in the sea, and seaweed is one of the components which is thought to be, which is projected or promoted to be one of the prime drivers in this drive towards the next blue revolution. We had a blue revolution scheme, and as a sequel to that, we have a much bigger scheme, Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, envisaging over 20,000 crores of investment in 5 years, with a specialized focused on filling the critical gaps in the sector, because fisheries so far, till at least about 15 years back, has been thought as a kind of a subsistence sector. The fishers, they will go into the sea or they'll get into the rivers, catch fish, sell them, and manage to subsist on whatever proceeds they can. Now we are getting into commercial mode of productions, and in this, seaweed will play a very major role. We have 8,000 kilometers of coastline, though entire coastline may not be very suitable for seaweeds, but there are areas, at least I would say 30% of the coastline, we can do seaweed in some amount of scale. Now the point is, where do we start? I strongly believe that in the primary sector, there will be always, production is not an issue. Though we keep on telling about training the farmers, training the fishers, I think our fishermen, our fisherwomen are smart enough to learn the trade by seeing, by doing. They can just watch and learn. What we require right now is getting the industry act together. We will want the seaweed sector to grow just like the sugarcane model. Why do farmers take up sugarcane? Because there is a ready market. There is a sugar mill in their vicinity. They all have a contract with them and they can sell. And the prices are fixed. Sometimes the payments get delayed, but then there is a government which listens to them, which helps the sugar mills to release payment. Sometimes they give directives. So certainty in the prices, probably certainty in the incomes, probably will be the biggest driver to the seaweed sector. I request all the people who are assembled here to share their thoughts, their visions, their ideas into energizing this emerging fledgling seaweed sector to work on how do we create a robust infrastructure that will support the efforts of our fishermen and women who will engage in seaweed production sector. We have done something, but not enough so far. As Dr. Jana says, our potential is about 2 million tons, and we are doing about 25,000 tons, if I heard him right. That's a very poor story to say, tell on our performance. We must improve. Pioneering the work has been done by CMFRI, and before that by certain private ventures. In Mandapam, number of people have taken up seaweed cultivation, and as Dr. Balaji said, even during COVID time, this activity continued to thrive, although the scale was the same as before. I can see CMFRI Mandapam, their vertical, I see some of the fisherwomen. I'll take the liberty to talk in Tamil. And you have done wonderful seaweed cultivation. So please do it. Okay.
Sir, with your permission, can we take one question at least from one fisherwoman or the seaweed producer? With your permission, can I take one question that will give an insight to the conference? Right. So I will ask Dr. Johnson to allow one producer to ask directly one question. Dr. Johnson, are you there? Yeah.
He is muted.
Yeah, he is muted. Yeah.
Please unmute your audio.
வணக்கம் வணக்கம் தொண்டி
வணக்கங்க.
புதுக்குடினா வாசி விளக்குறதுல இருக்கேன். வணக்கம், நான் தொண்டி புதுக்குடி. என் பேர் ஜானகி, வீட்டுக்காரவங்க பேர் சக்தி. நான் பாசி விளக்குறதுல இருக்கிறேன். சிஎம்பார்பாரில் வந்தேன். இது மாதிரி ஒரு வாரத்துக்கு சொல்லி தந்தாங்க. போன கொரோனாவில் நல்லா விவசாயம் நல்லா விளைஞ்சிச்சு. ஒரு 65 ரூபாய்க்கு போட்டோம். இப்போவும் நல்லா அதெல்லாம் பண்ணிவிட்டு கிடைக்கிது. இப்போவும் நல்லா செய்கிறோம். மாதத்துக்கு 10 ரூபாய்க்கு மேலே வரும். இந்த மாதிரி பெண்களுக்கு இன்னமும் செஞ்சு கொடுத்தீங்களாக்கும் ரொம்ப நன்றி.
Yes.
பண்றீங்க, நல்லா பேசுனீங்க. நீங்க தோண்டில இருந்து இருக்கீங்களா?
தொண்டி
அச்சா, தோண்டி. நான் ரொம்ப நாள் முன்னாடி 30 வருஷம் முன்னாடி அறந்தங்கில வேலை பார்த்திருக்கேன், சப் கலெக்டர். தோண்டி போயிருக்கேன், தெரியும். ஓகே,
தேங்க்யூ.
தேங்க்யூ.
Yeah, sir, could you explain in English so that other audience can understand what did he ask you and what did you answer?
Yeah, they said
That's
that
what I was about to say.
so Dr. Johnson will say or I will say?
If you can explain, or maybe Dr.
Okay,
Johnson.
they said that she said that she is from Tondi. That's in the Ramnathpuram district on the coast.
Yes, sir.
Park Bay. She said that she is getting about 65 rupees per kilo, and they are doing well. And if the government does this is a very good occupation for women of the village areas, especially coastal areas. And if the government does for more women, they will be very happy. And then I said that I know Tondi. I have worked in a place very near to Tondi, and we will definitely do all these things. And this seminar is also for doing that in a much bigger scale. Yeah, that is
Excellent, sir. Excellent.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you. And in fact, we have asked Dr. Johnson also to translate them because all speakers will be speaking in English. So obviously, these fisher women and the producers, they cannot understand English. So both Dr. Johnson, Dr. Jaykumar, both will be helping to translate it into local language. So they will
Okay,
understand.
sir. Okay, sure, sir.
Thank you.
Sure,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
so. Shall I continue, Dr. Pradhan? Mr.
Yes,
Pradhan?
sir, please.
Yes. you can do.
So now there are two from a theoretical backdrop. I can just take 2 minutes to explain why we require seaweed. We are a big country, and we have also probably will become the country with the largest population in the world. The pressure on the land is quite high right now. Maybe 100 years back, it was not that much. And this country was very blessed that almost 60% of the land is cultivable, being cultivated. But slowly we are reaching the point of exhaustion. Our forests are dwindling. Many places we are talking about climate change. So slowly we have to find out a way to move from land-based production systems to sea-based production system to reduce the pressure on the land and the freshwater resources. Thus, one of the key areas why we are talking about seaweed cultivation and expanding in a large scale. The second point is that in the coastal areas, this apart from fishing, this will be another major initiative in creating sustainable livelihoods. One, we grow seaweed. By growing seaweeds, we capture carbon dioxide. Also, we create income generation for the poor people, for the people in, I have worked in coastal areas. I know the people are quite downtrodden and not much of many areas, even fresh water, good water will not be available. People used to take, especially in Tamil Nadu coast, I have seen They will be digging small wells in the beach, and from that, with a small utensil, they will take out a little bit of water for drinking water. In those conditions, seaweed and more income will be really a boon. And once these areas become commercially active, the other infrastructure will follow. So that's why Honorable Prime Minister has given a big stress on seaweed farming, and in the last Independence Day speech also, he talked about energizing blue economy and expanding seaweed production in a massive scale. He also appreciated the efforts taken by the scientists and the fishers to take up seaweed cultivation and to promote it. Against this backdrop, I will request all the participants here to think a lot about creating an ecosystem. How do we start? Because seaweed is available elsewhere, so we must, and the industries here, their needs are taken, their needs are fulfilled by imports. Small amount is produced here, that is consumed locally, and the remaining is being imported. We have to create a big processing sector. We will look into the ways and means so that if such sector develops, naturally there will be a demand. Demand creation is probably the most important thing in seaweed cultivation. Just like such an industry that has developed, like sugarcane, to be precise, or even aquaculture. Without the processing industry, without the export infrastructure, the aquaculture, coastal aquaculture would not have developed as it has developed today. So this is very important. I hope that this 2 days international conference and in the webinar part will throw a lot of light into this aspect. I understand that seed is very important, availability of seed. Then there are issues like leasing of the or giving permission for taking of seaweed cultivation in the coastal sea, in the territorial waters, in the near sea conditions. Many states will have to frame clear rules so that later on there is no confusion, there is no fighting over the space. Of course, we have a 8,000 kilometer. Presently, I don't think there will be a big scramble for space, but a clear rules will definitely spur the growth as it is. In industries, when they're promoting, when they come up, they will demand seaweeds. To get the seaweeds to feed their factories, they themselves will start promoting cultivation and approach people, why don't you take cultivation, and will give a buyback. So, so all these things are important, but most important will be to create sufficient demand for the seaweeds. Dr. Jana talked about many applications that seaweed can get into: nutraceuticals, pharmaceuticals, fertilizers, and where the government is working on such aspects and trying to create demand. Already a multi-purpose seaweed park has been announced. It will be set up in the state of Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu government is preparing the DPR for this project, and based on its progress, such common infrastructure can be put in other places of the other potential areas of the country where seaweed cultivation will be promoted in a big way. On this occasion, I will like to place on record the efforts taken by CMFRI for promoting this and giving the training, CMFRI and CMSCRI to promote the training, the knowledge about seaweed cultivation across the coastline of the country. I also thank Mr. Pradhan to organize this conference so that there is more dissemination of knowledge and more people are they are encouraged and motivated to take up not only seaweed cultivation but also seaweed derivatives that gets into industrial use. And I request the scientists to find out more uses for seaweed so that seaweed production, once produced by our fishermen and women, do not suffer from lack of demand and do not see the fate. Sometimes we see in our country tomatoes being thrown in the streets, cattle are allowed to let into the fields to graze into the cabbages. That situation should not arise. This is something we must guard against from the beginning itself. Otherwise, the people who take up seaweed cultivation, who spend their sweat and blood into the cultivation, they should not curse that government and other people, big people have told us to take up this seaweed and we are not able to sell. That is something we must, from the beginning, should avoid, while moving forward enthusiastically towards taking up the seaweed cultivation. And with this, I will stop here because I think I have also exceeded my time. I am supposed to have finished at 11. So now in the technical, I suppose in the technical sessions there are a lot of number of experts who will give their views and how to go it forward, and it will also help us, help the government and our department in specific will be very grateful for these views, which will help us to carry forward this seaweed innovation and this seaweed experiment in this country, and hopefully we will not only achieve our target of 1.1 million ton in next 5 years, but probably will exceed that. With this, I wish all the very best and all the success to the webinar and its organizers and participants. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words and encouragement. In fact, I would request you and Dr. Balaji and Dr. Jena also to listen the first session and those sessions also, because the very key speakers are there from outside India, from inside India, and good entrepreneurs are there also. C6 Energy, the chairman and CEO, Sri Kumar is there also. Then Professor Sahu, Dinamon Sahu is there also. So we'll quickly start the session immediately after my Sony introduces all the speakers. Thank you, sir, for your.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir, as your presence is quite reassuring for all of us, and we are looking forward to the various possibilities of the seaweed industry. And also, we are really grateful for giving us this insight about climatic conditions and how various production systems can help in income options as well. So, sir, thank you so very much. And as requested, please be with us. And now, I think without any further ado, we should be proceeding further for our technical sessions. And this technical session is going to be very, very interesting. All the technical sessions are going to be very interesting.
Sony, I will request you if you can show our platform to sir also how the exhibition, just 1 minute will take or 30 seconds or so. That will be good. At least he will know how the exhibition looks like.
Okay, fine. In fact, morning when we started, we gave the entire tour to all the participants who were there. So for the benefit of everyone who was not with us at that time. So the best part of this online event that we have this virtual exhibition stalls where you all can visit virtually. So very quickly, we'll take you through to our stalls.
Just 30 seconds to 40 seconds.
Yes, more. Yes, very quickly we'll take you through. So if you have the link on, you just need to have the link with you, which is our virtual link. So you have to just click on the link, as you can see on our screen right now, that you have the link with you right now. So this online event, there is always a challenge because quickly when you switch on the link, there is always a delay. So when you click on the link, you will have the various tabs which will show you the exhibition A hall, exhibition B hall. First, it will take you to the lobby area, which is right in front of you. So this lobby area will lead you through to the conference hall. And once you enter into the conference hall, this conference hall will have a link. And once you will press that link, that will take you to our webinar sessions which are going on. So this is very, very friendly usage. It is no complication at all. And from a conference hall, you can go to exhibition halls as well.
So the conference hall, how it is looking. So the secretary.
Yeah. So this is the conference hall, and you can see the link which says click here to join webinar. So it's just one click away. You join the webinar and you're there in the webinar with us. You just need to have a good online link and you have to have a good online connection. You're good to go. Another thing you see is exhibition A. Now exhibition A hall has a various stalls you see, and various stalls have the names. Very soon you will see those names on your side screen. And any particular stall you would like to visit, you just have to click on the name and you will be there on the stall and you can get all the details. Plus, the benefit of this online virtual tour is any question, any query you have, you can always go on the chat session, you can ask and your query will be resolved. And if you see on my right side, you have this SELT Marine Group.
Go through. Yeah.
Yes, so yes, I'm
This is the
explaining
stalls
that.
are there. Yeah.
So these are the stalls I'm taking you through on. So there are various stalls. You can click on the stall, any particular, the list which you just saw on the side. Those are the name of
They
the
are also
stalls.
to showcase the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampad Yojana, the scheme. So people can download the brochure and the features also.
So can I carry on, Pravash?
Yeah, just say yeah.
All right. So this exhibition A hall, these all are the stalls and the names which you just saw, you just have to click on the stall and you will be there and you will know more about the stall in a great detail. So similarly, you can go to exhibition B hall. There are various stalls again in the exhibition B hall. You see that? And can you see the list of the names as well? So you will get to know the various stalls names. Again, process is the same. You have to click on the name.
That's okay. Go to the networking. That's all. Go
and
to the
now
networking.
there is a networking, which is the best part of this. Networking, all the presenters, all the participants who have logged in for this virtual tour,
Sorry,
you can interact.
350 people are watching this one and they can interact with the platform.
So that
And
through
they can
video
put
call
questions.
and through chat session, both you can interact. You have option for both. So basically, although we can't meet up with each other, that is the
So
downside.
these people are watching now. The names and photos are coming. Yeah, these people are watching.
Yeah. So you can see the names listed. Whomsoever you feel that you need to connect with, chat with, or do a video calling, possibilities are open. You can do a video calling, you can chat, and you can get the further details. So this is a very quick, small virtual tour. I hope this was useful for all of you.
Yeah, thanks, Suni. Then we'll just move to the technical session.
Right. So now this particular technical session is going to start very soon now. Immediately after will be till 1 o'clock. This is about global and national reviews of seaweed farming. And this session will be chaired by Professor Deenabandhu Sahu. He is Director, Cluster Innovation Center and Center for Himalayan Studies, University of Delhi. Although very quick introduction I would like to give about Dr. Deenabandhu Sahu. He's a scientific advisor to Honorable Chief Minister of Meghalaya. He's also a member of Research Council, CSIR, CSMCRI, Bhavnagar, Gujarat. Member of Research Council, CSIR, NEISD, Jorhat, Assam, and Rajiv Gandhi Center for Biotechnology, Thiruvananthapuram, and adjunct professor, Institute of Life Sciences, Bhubaneswar, Orissa. Professor Sahu has more than 30 years of research experience in the field of seaweed biology and cultivation. For his outstanding contribution, he was awarded honorary DSc and elected as Fellow of National Academy of Sciences, National Academy of Agriculture Sciences, and Biotechnology Society of India. So it's just a very brief introduction. There is a lot which we can share, but due to time limit, we have to stick to our time guideline as well. And we'll have a key lineup of speakers. Dr. Ira Levine, Professor, would speak on seaweed breeding challenges and way forward. Mr. Sri Kumar Suryanarayan will be with us. Dr. Anicia Q. Hurtado will be with us, scientist consultant in seaweed tissue culture and agriculture, Philippines. Dr. Lim Faik M, Deputy Director, Head of Marine Biotechnology Research, is going to be a key speaker as well. Mr. Moiner Volkot, and please pardon me if there is any mispronunciation of the name. My sincere apologies if there are going to be any. So Managing Director, SCLT Marine Group. So this is going to be the lineup for this particular session. So over to our chair of the session, Professor Deenabandhu Sahu. Kindly lead the session, please.
Yeah.
Professor Deenabandhu Sahu.
Yeah, Professor Sahu, just I will
Thank you very much.
one second. So Mr. Monir Balkot will not be available because of his personal emergency. So you can carry on the four speakers, the session and interaction. Okay.
Yeah. Can you put
Over
can
to
you
Mr.
put my
Sahu
first slide? Yeah. Can you put my first slide, please? Thank you very much, Mr. Pradhan and the other organizers for inviting me. I also thank Mr. Jayan Swai, the Secretary Department of Fisheries and very old friend of mine. Happy to see you leading the fisheries sector in the country. Dr. J.K. Jaina, who is again an old friend of mine. Happy to see you here in this meeting, who is also leading the fisheries research and heading ICAR in the fisheries sector. And again, another old friend, Dr. Balaji, who is actually the leading force in coordinating the fisheries program. So it's wonderful to see you, and it's quite encouraging, especially for me, to be part of this conference. And I could see a large number of my international friends who are speaking here in this particular conference. I'll just straightway talk about that when we are talking about these seaweeds, then I just see that what is actually the way forward for India. I mean, can I go to the next slide? Please, can somebody have the next slide, please? Hello, who is operating my slide? Yes.
Slide is there.
So when we are talking about the seaweeds, let me tell you, I am from a coastal area and I started my career in the seaweeds in 1984. It's more than 3 decades, and I was trained in Kappa ficus cultivations and seaweed processing in an industry way back in 1991. So it's almost 30 years now when I started the actual seaweeds cultivation in Philippines, which is a leading Kappa ficus cultivation country. When I came back, I proposed the large-scale seaweeds cultivation across the Indian coast to the government of India way back in 1991 and met one of the legendary figure in India, Dr. S.Z. Kasim, who has been my mentor, and he doesn't require any introduction. And to further move, I was trained at Japan with Professor Masao Ono, again a leading international scientist who actually pioneered various types of seed cultivation in Japan. Then moved to US, had my training, and also collaboration with Professor Ike Levine, and whom I hosted in India twice in my laboratory as a Fulbright scholar. Next one, please. So with this background, next one, please. So I have been talking about the seaweeds in various international forums. Can the host please move the slides, because the time is very, very limited. That's why I posted you my slides, Mr. Pradhan, or Madam Anchor, whoever is actually operating the slides, please focus on. There are various dignitaries on this. The slides are not moving. Hello. Can somebody? Yes. So when I'm talking about the seaweeds cultivation, all the participants and including our dignitaries who are here in the inaugural section, I would like to focus them on this particular slide. This is the type of farm which the Philippines have. You can see this is a farm in an area, and this is a company which actually cultivates seaweeds in a 200 or 300 hectares of area. And this is in the middle of the sea, where the large scale Kappa ficus cultivation as well as the other cultivation takes place. So I'm not going into the details. I'm talking about the type of operation, the type of large scale operations which the other country do. India is nowhere in the picture at the moment, as it was mentioned by my earlier speakers in the inaugural section. India is a country with 130 crores people and we have more than 7,700 crores. Certainly, we cannot have such type of area to go for the large scale seaweed cultivation. Next slide, please. Next one, please. Okay, this is how the Kappa ficus cultivation takes place. This is a small picture of Tanzania where they use the mangrove sticks, and you can see that how hundreds of squares of kilometers of seaweeds, the Kappa ficus of different color strains, are being cultivated. Right now in India, our cultivation is mostly restricted to few kilometers in Mandapam. And of course, it started in 2000, but we have not made much what you called progress in terms of expansion in the field of seaweeds cultivation. When I'm talking about, or all of us we are talking about, when we are talking about the blue revolution, we must think really big and focus on the seaweeds what we have. Next one, please. Next one, please. Okay. In most of the things we see, you see, this is again a brown seaweed, which is being widely cultivated in Japan or Korea or China. The purpose of showing these seaweeds, much of the statistics you get in FAO or you will see in the global market, that much of the statistics about the seaweeds productions, it comes about from the brown seaweeds. I mean, when you visit a farm in China or Japan, you will find how the seaweeds are being cultivated. When I try to lift one of these thallus of these seaweeds, it can go up to 40 or 50 kilograms. And basically, these are the cold water species which we cannot cultivate in India. Next one, please. Okay, so when I'm talking about the seaweeds, okay, in terms of research, we have two institutes, CSM, CRI, and CMFI, we are talking about. But here, in terms of we as individual research, I wrote this book way back in 2020. This is called Farming the Ocean, Seaweeds Cultivation and Utilization. This is a small book in a layman's language, which we started. And then whatever the little work which we have done in our laboratory, that has been basically published, whether you talk about various types. I'm not getting into this, but here are some of the informations which are available. So we have enough information which are available in the public domain. Next one, please. So as an academic, you carry out your research work and then you publish. But what is more interesting is, as my previous speaker, Honorable Secretary, Joint Secretary, and our DDG said about this, why the seaweeds, if you see this particular slide, because you know that after carbon dioxide, it is going to be the nitrogen which is going to be the biggest challenge in the entire world. We have already started a nitrogen oxide. Now, if you see this carbon dioxide, a tropical forest only takes around 15 to 20 tons of carbon dioxide per hectare per year. But if you see the sargassum, which is tropical, it takes around almost 3 times more than the carbon dioxide which is sequestered. And laminaria is 48 tons per hectare per year. So the point what I am trying to say is, unless and until India goes for the large scale seaweed cultivation, we are going to have a serious challenge about the acidification of the ocean, and acidification is going to impact the fisheries sector in a very, very big way. So it is the interest of the people to not only go for the large scale seaweed cultivation the sea, but also to protect the seaweeds, the fisheries sector, as well as to combat the climate change. Next one, please. Next one, please. Okay. Now, realizing the importance of the seaweeds, there is an Asian network for using marine algae as a carbon dioxide sink, which involves 13 different Asian Pacific countries, starting from Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Korea, Malaysia. Many of the members are also here participating in this conference. The relevance of this network is a number of countries have gone for large scale underwater forest. And I'm talking about Japan, China, Korea, they have really gone for large scale underwater, creating underwater forest through various mechanisms. And these are actually large programs. We have not yet started such massive program under the ocean. We are only talking about right now the offshore cultivation in terms of fuel. And recently, people have been trying to take this sewage cultivation towards the blue economy and CDM. I am not going into the details. These are all available in the web. Next one, please. Next slide, please. Okay. So what I what I propose here is to the policymakers, to the scientists, we have leaders by various institutes and message of seaweeds available in efforts through all India coordinated projects we have, which can be cultivated in different states, in different water, not two only one or two species. In as a global player, we have to go for the species diversification. Next one, please. The technology, can you move to the next one? Demonstrated. Next one, please. The organizers.
That is already there. It's already there, sir.
It takes directly involved not only in the research, but thousands of people in different coasts. Here you can see the coast of Chilka, where we had gone for the large scale cultivation of Gracilaria. Left hand side below it is the Gujarat coast, and also you have Daman and Diu, and up you have the Mandapam coast, which is doing pretty well. Next one, please. Next one. Okay, you can see this is a typical raft cultivation of Gracilaria in Chilka Lake. And this is a pretty good model because, you know, Chilka, the largest brackish water lake in Asia, has gone for different types of aquaculture. Unless and until you remove the extra nitrate and phosphate from this area, you are going to lose the long-term benefits of the prawn culture in this area. I am not going into the details of this, but this is a snippet. Next one, please. Next one. Okay, so what is the way ahead? We have to actually think big. And how do you go for? So let us not reinvent the wheel doing the same R&D. Every institute has strong R&D base with their core funds, but we have to go for real innovation. So as I propose, there have to be 3 or 4 taxa for large scale cultivation as required by the industry. It's not that what we can give, but it is important that what industry requires. So to go for a quick what you call results, import high yielding variety immediately without due process, settle the unnecessary issue in a time bound manner. There are many talk about the alien species, but these issues need to be settled. Let the seaweed researchers identify the suitable cultivation area in different states. State and central government departments. This is a very, very key issue where the policymakers, the farmers, the industry should focus. Conferences and seminars are wonderful things, but when we actually go to ground zero, it's a different story altogether. Otherwise, 50 years have passed in Indian seaweeds research and industry. We have not moved much. We are still importing a large amount of seaweeds from overseas, and our are running actually in less than installed capacity. Decentralize the cultivation for each state and involve local experts who have ideas about the local condition, have buyback arrangements from the seaweeds farmers with predetermined price that was mentioned by Mr. Swai. We cannot play with the lives of the farmers who are basically poor, so we should give them assured buyback arrangement. We have to maintain strict quality control of the raw materials. Strict monitoring and mid-term corrections are required wherever it is necessary. Next one, please. 5 more minutes. Next one, please. Okay, so this is very, very important. Identify suitable species. I have covered. We have a lot of brackish water area. So for brackish water area, which we must go for the IMTA, integrated multi-trophic aquaculture, which is very, very important. We do not have suitable areas like Philippines or Indonesia or Tanzania, where they have huge lagoon area. So we should take care of this. And one of the biggest challenge we're talking about the seaweed cultivation, please establish good quality seedling banks like other countries. If you do not have enough type of quality planting materials, you will not be able to expand your seaweed cultivation areas to the large area. Then develop cultivation for high value seaweeds. Use deep sea water for seaweed cultivation in Lakshadweep and other areas. In productivity and go for women's empowerment. That is very, very crucial if we want to socially empower and economically empower the people. Next one, please. So quickly, next one, please. Next one, please. Okay.
Slide is already there.
So what is proposed is, as part of this seaweed cultivation program to enhance the marine productivity, India should go for the large scale artificial reef production. Unless and until you go for artificial reef construction in suitable areas, will not be able to enhance our marine productivity. Will be able to only harvest from the natural what you call the resources. Next one, please. So it's very important to go for the artificial reef construction, where the Ministry of Fisheries, the Department of Fisheries can go for the large scale artificial reef construction. Even the aeroplanes are used for the artificial reef construction. You can see these large iron structures, concrete structures, even the old tires, they're actually sunk in of the sea, and which act as a substrate. Next one, please. To grow not only the large amount of seaweeds, but also it acts as a substratum or a habitat. Next one, please, for the seaweeds. So the idea is teach a man to fish, and unless and until you go and teach a man to fish, and unless you stop the era of subsidy, will not be able to empower. Next one, please. Probably this is my last slide. I've just taken this much of little more time. Next one, please. I think this is the last one.
This is the last slide,
and
sir.
This book has been translated in several languages. If you want to the seaweeds, please read about this. My sincere and humble submission is, let us not make it as one more seminars. In the recent time, the Indian Chambers of Commerce has organized 3 international conferences recently. This is the 4th one, and we will have many more national and international conferences, workshops, which will continue on not only on the seaweeds. And recently, we had one in the marine biotechnology. You know that Government of India is launching again the deep sea mission, where they're trying to set up a marine biotechnology network at Goa. So I'm not getting into the details, but what I'm trying to say is, can you stop my presentation so that I can go for the next speaker, because we are rushing against time. Just close my presentation. So distinguished invitees and the panelists, just my sincere and humble submission is, this is the golden opportunity for India, where Honorable Prime Minister has created a separate department of fisheries and also allocated sufficient amount of money in the history of India as far as the seaweeds cultivation and utilization is concerned. Let us join hands with international communities, with the government, with NGO, and all the stakeholders to make the seaweeds cultivation a success story. If we miss the bus, then we'll miss these backgrounds. I had to fill up the gap for the last speaker. I would like Dr. Ira Levin, who is a professor at the Natural and Applied Sciences Department in the University of Southern Maine, as well as the director of University of Southern Maine and LC Aquatic. Additionally, Dr. Levin is the president and board of chair of the Algae Foundation and CEO of Algal Aquaculture Professional LLC. He was awarded many prestigious awards, but the most important is the Fulbright Award when he visited my laboratory in Delhi in 2009 and 10, and again he visited in Northeast to have his second US Fulbright Fellowship, and is a long, he is my collaborator. I also visited his laboratory. He has 38 years of applied and basic research experience in the field of seaweeds. Let me tell you, many of you might not be knowing about Ira Levin, who is popularly known as EK, who has pioneered seaweed cultivation in the eastern coast of US. And he is very, very active, and he's a friend of India. He has traveled extensively different parts of the Indian coast during his 3 or 4 visits when I was his host, and he's doing wonderful work, and he has the knowledge about the ground reality in India. With these few words, I invite Ira Levin to deliver his talk. Ike, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Professor Sahu. I would ask Dr. Pradam to load the MP4 video and play it. And, excuse me, Ike Levine. I'm the president of the Algae Foundation and a professor at the University of Southern Maine. I'd like to thank the organizers of Seaweed India 2021 for the opportunity to speak before you today. Title of my presentation is the Algae Foundation and the U.S. Department of Energy's ARPA-E Mariner program, seaweed farming, and the national seaweed breeding efforts. First, I'd like to talk about the Algae Foundation and its program for bioeconomy job training and education called ATEC, the Algae Technology Educational Consortium. As you can see in the upper right, our organization was started by the Algae Foundation, and it's been funded by the the U.S. Department of Energy and the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. We have 6 efforts, as you can see. The top two we call interest generators. We have a grade kindergarten through 12 called the Algae Academy, and we have a series of massive open online courses called the Algal MOOCs through Coursera.org, of which India, by the way, is the largest sender of students around the world. We have approximately 22,000 people who have taken the MOOCs. We have about 75,000 students who have taken the K through 12. We have a series of college courses, one in algal-based biotechnology and another set in algae farming. And we also have agricultural or aquaculture extension short courses, both in seaweeds and microalgae. And for our students, we have what's called a micro-credentialing digital badging program, where the students can test out and be able to show that they have earned the right to have badges for specific tasks, whether they're PCR or sterilized techniques. And these are very helpful for people looking for jobs, that they can document the skills that they've earned. In terms of ATEC, as you can see the world map below, in green are the countries that have sent students to our programs. There are exactly 100 countries listed or highlighted on this map. And on the United States map in red and blue, you can see the different schools around the country that have adopted our curriculum. We're also starting for the very first time in October of 2021, the Algae Challenge Cup. This will be a national challenge competition with a first place prize of $25,000 to the winner for developing new technologies surrounding either micro or macro algae. Now we're going to move on to seaweeds in the United States. And then the question is, why does the United States care about seaweeds or macroalgae? Many of these factoids are beyond debate in terms of that the global population is growing, that we need a new low carbon energy source, and the fact that land and water are in conflict and are being challenged in terms of their usages every day. But the United States has the world's largest exclusive economic zone. If you add up all the blue on this map surrounding the continental United States, Alaska, Hawaii, and all of the US protectorates around the world, it represents over 11 million square kilometers. And if you are able to develop seaweed farming and use these conditions in the EEZ, we're looking at, that's been estimated, of approximately the ability to grow 500 million dry metric tons of seaweed each year. And if these seaweeds were converted to biofuels, it would represent about 10% of the current transportation fuels that are used today. So here we have the ARPA-E Mariner program, and the Mariner program having to do with macroalgae research, inspiring novel energy resources. They've invested approximately 60 million in over 28 projects. As you can see here, there are 5 categories of effort. The 5 categories having to do with the design and deployment of farming arrays, the development of critical component and deployment technologies, the ability to monitor, remote monitoring the farms and their offshore, the development of computational modeling tools, and lastly, category 5, an R&D effort on breeding programs. Some of the other goals of the Mariner program are you can't use land, you can't have, the system can't be used extra fertilizer applied to the system, and no fresh water used in the cultivation. They're looking to model 1,000 hectare farms, and in fact looking to build 100 of these 1,000 hectare farms with the biomass net cost coming in at under $80 a wet ton. So in terms of category 5, the selective breeding for these offshore seaweed farms, the vision and mission, or vision and impact, are no different than land-based agriculture, which is have about a 100-year jump on marine agronomy. But these the techniques are similar. So we have let's just say a roadmap or recipes by which we can convert land-based agricultural biotechnology to seaweed. So it's about breeding superior kelp species, and in this case, sugar kelp is the first or target cultivar that is being used, and with the hope that up to 20% per generation increase in yields. Some of the tools used, of course, is genotypings, targeted selection pressures, seed productivity, of course, controlled crosses, and trait verifications. And on the bottom are just some of the organizations that are leading this effort. And the picture on the right and the way back, you see a picture of Charlie Arish, sort of the godfather of seaweed farming in the United States, and his group through the University of Connecticut. And so in terms of the sugar kelp breeding program, you see the fact that this happens to be the northeastern portion of the United States, and the very lower left-hand corner is New York City. Then you see Cape Cod, which is Massachusetts, where Boston is located. And in the upper right-hand corner, that's the state of Maine, where I am from. And as you can see, both wild collections from wild stocks in red, and in green, you see the collections from both Maine and Connecticut farms. And on the right, of course, just pictures of the collection of the different wild stocks around these locations. And here we just have a visualization of 5 major morph types of Saccharina latissima. As you can see from just a limited sampling between Maine and Rhode Island. So from Connecticut through Maine, you see very, very different phenotype expressions of morphology. And this can play a significant role in determining commercial cultivars for the future. And in terms of domesticating the sugar kelp, then the question is what is being measured, and here you can see that stipe length and blade length, also blade width, at 2 different sections of the thallus. What have they found? And what have they done in the first 3 years of the program? They've completed approximately 600 crosses. They've obviously found tremendous variation and diversity in these different crosses, and they have found, to some degree, high heritability of some of these traits, and dry weight per meter and stipe diameter being 2 of them. And you can refer to the publication by Wang and al. From 2020 to review some of the additional findings of this domestication program. So in terms of what they have done in the domesticating program, again, it is how can you develop a marine agronomic effort that is independent of having to collect kelp blades with storage tissue for its seed source. And so again, here we're looking at some control of the breeding cycle through development of or collection of the zoospores and separating them out into male and female on 96 well plates, controlled crosses, and development of sporophytes, and taking the sporophytes and spraying them directly either on seeding strings or directly on the agronomic array ropes. Once again, looking at the difference between manual and automation, you can see a nearly 50 times advancement using flow cytometry versus manual isolations in terms of gametoophytic isolations. And so, of course, in terms of the future, flow cytometry will be used in all efforts. And so some of the results of the domestication and crosses, as you can see here, two morphs of the kelps used in the northeastern region. And here you have the plot with its maximum productivity of 28 wet kilograms per meter of linear length of cultivation string. And it translates into 4 kilogram dried weight per meter. So innovations. Again, prior to the development of this program, there was little to no reports or organized breeding programs for the improvement of kelp cultivars. And so as a result of the 3-year effort as part of the Mariner program, the group led by Charlie Arish has developed quite a data bank and breeding tools, converting from land-based agriculture to marine agronomy. So they have now saved and established a germplasm bank. They've published the population genetic studies of the 18 different locations in the Northeast region of the United States. They have, as I said, automated the sorting using flow cytometry. They have developed hundreds, if not over 1,000 different crosses in terms of the New Hampshire and Connecticut areas over the last 3 years. They have worked with JGI in terms of genetic analyses. They have developed predictive modeling and breeding tools. They're about coming on 2 years since their first improved generation, and they're redoing it over again each way. So as you can see here on the bottom, a typical kelp drying greenhouse, the harvest in the middle, and the measurement up against the wall of the counting barn. Additional efforts include a third breeding cycle, and this third breeding cycle has yielded a 30% improvement over year 2 in the top cultivars that have been isolated. They've also developed a high correlation between the selected cultivars with high sugar content and low ash content. And they have developed the heritability scale for the key traits. Again, the genome has been annotated with the help and access of the analytical efforts of JGI, the Joint Genome Institute, which is also a branch of the Department of Energy. And so now that they have completed the year cycle in terms of laboratory control, the ability to accelerate the breeding progress or the breeding program for the next couple of years is assured. One of the future efforts is what is the cultural acceptance of bringing in augmented, improved, modified kelp cultivars to new farming regions around the country. And so the question is, there's resistance. There's resistance by the local populations. There's resistance to these introductions of variants from away, and that would increase the time and rigor of permitting reviews. And so it is thought, just as with salmon farming or oyster farming, to prevent escapes, to develop sporeless cultivars that could not independently reproduce in nature. And so the group from the University of Southern California and their collaborative associates have identified 4 different genes that are required for meiosis, and they have developed or detailed 400 different variations and mutations within these 4 genes, and these came from 600 sequenced kelps that had been collected. And so now that the additional mutations will need to be identified and validated, but on the right you see the scope and hopes of the altered life cycle analyses to prevent sporophytes in the wild from undergoing meiosis, and therefore reducing the capacity of these introduced cultivars from causing any local environmental or ecological damage. Another view of it here, again, is developing a sporeless kelp life cycle. And again, the mitigation of invasive species as an effect on the domestic kelp populations. Right now it's being done on sugar kelp, but also macrocystis, and developing sterilized sporophytes. And there's a real good chance, just as this works in other aquaculture and agronomic efforts, that sporeless kelps certainly would mitigate or reduce the pressure from social licensing and regulatory review and permitting. And in terms of what the efforts look like for this effort to develop the sterile crosses, you see we're now approaching September of 2021, and this is the next, approximately 10 months of effort. You can see that the July and August efforts have been completed, or at least they're well underway in terms of identifying the sterile mutations in our gametophytic or gametophite populations. Now they're under starting the confirmation of the mutant genotypes, and will develop a series of crossings. These crossings will be outplanted and harvested at the end of April, May of next year, and the status of the sterility will be examined, and in terms of determination of what effect, if any, on the yield, productivity, biochemical and chemical constituents of the harvested kelp. And so there's still so much work to be done, but the tools are being developed, and the ability to create crosses, and now sterile crosses, will be expanded. The fact that we have the ability to identify high-performing cultivars, and hopefully infertile cultivars, will certainly assist the adoption, of these highly valued cultivars for future farm around the United States. The fact that cryopreservation has been developed for germplasm storage, again, another tool that will assist in future breeding. JGI and will assist with developing the complete reference genome and all annotations in terms of the different functional improved traits. A new area of investigation is the bacterial populations, the microbiomes, and the biofilms on or surrounding the kelps, and what are their effects in terms of improving and perhaps decreasing performance. These things will be identified. And lastly, always in terms of any agronomic project, whether on land or on the water, improve hatchery techniques that will eventually have a significant on productivity and
Slide
yields.
is somewhere struck in the organizer.
So this is
Please, and next slide, please.
of programs centered around the University
Can
of
the
Connecticut.
organizer move to the next
Yes.
slide? Well,
that was sort of an abrupt ending, but I'm here to take any questions that might come from the audience. And so if we have the time, I'm happy to answer any questions.
yes. Yes. Yes.
Dr. Levine, this is Sri Kumar.
Thank you very much.
So slides are finished, sir?
They are. The only thing was chopped off was the acknowledgement page,
Dr.
thanking
looks like there is a audio problem. It looks like. Hello.
Dr.
So you're audible to
DK,
us.
can you hear me?
Yes, I
Professor
hear you
Sahu, you're
fine.
audible to us.
And there is a question on the floor. If you allow it to be asked, sir, please continue.
Right. Dr. Levine, much of the work that you showed in your slide is about the kelps. Could you just talk a little bit about the Eucuma seaweeds? I understand there is some work being done by ARPA-E down south. I think it's the Eucuma easiforme. Could you just talk about the status of that, please?
Yes, certainly. Again, part of the ARPA-E program, there are efforts in the Gulf of Mexico and south of Puerto Rico. And so both the eucumoids, Capophycus and Eucuma have been utilized, as has sargassum in the Gulf of Mexico, and additionally Gracilaria. And most of the efforts in terms of the breeding program have to be on both the sugar kelp and the giant kelp macrocystis, but all the tools that are being developed are open sourced, and so will be eventually utilized for the improvement of both Gracilaria cultivation as well as the eucumoid.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, I'd certainly like to thank the organizers and Professor Sahu for the honor to speak before you. It's pretty late in the evening or early in the morning, so I may push off and try to catch a couple of hours of sleep before the sun comes up. But if there's any last questions, I'm happy to respond, or please email me at ilevine@maine.edu, and I'm happy to respond.
Professor Levine, can you hear me? Just one
Yes.
point. This is Sahu here. Thank you very much for staying awake till 3 o'clock in the morning. That right now, but we have our policy makers who are also watching this program and the people from industries. Now, your India experience, what is your bit of advice you would like to give to the people who are present here? What can be done at the ground level?
Well, I've traveled far and wide in terms of the coastal communities, both in Kerala and all the way up to Pondicherry. And you know, the dynamic nature of your coastline, the women's groups and the fishery cooperatives, you have all the infrastructure and human power to be quite successful in seaweed farming. Training is always an issue. Initial capital for the investment in the infrastructure for seaweed farming is an issue, but it's certainly, in terms of the ability to open up a new industry, the startup capital is minimal. Again, guaranteed purchasing by either the cooperatives or organizing the purchasing through groups that model after the Philippines or Indonesia. Certainly can be done. There needs to be, you know, confidence in the ability to sell the seaweed for a proper price. But again, if everybody develops the trust that's necessary for a multi-leveled value stream, seaweed farming has nearly 100% chance of being successful in a massive expansion in the waters of India. Certainly the nutrient profile is appropriate. You know, as the waters warm in the Indian Ocean and the Arabian Sea, you may need new cultivars, but again, that's been shown through Dr. Cheney and protoplast fusion that you can develop cultivars that can thrive in warmer waters. And so the merging of biotechnology and seaweed farming, just like land-based agriculture in terms of the improvement to rice culture, is absolutely essential. I've seen the national labs and the universities throughout India. There's tremendous intellectual power there. And if there was direction from the government, as you stated, a seaweed department through the government, you know, you'd be able to mobilize the country within 5 years. You could be, you know, having a series of 1,000-hectare farms, creating some tremendous biomass. And so I have no doubt, I am fully confident that India has the capacity, the intellectual infrastructure, the human capital, and the investment capital to make seaweed farming a massive use of water and to be able to enjoy the ecological services that these seaweeds would provide the local communities in terms of reducing excess nutrients, reducing acidification, providing habitats for the local sea life. But again, I am sure that the people who are on this call know all of those attributes of massive seaweed cultivation. So I'm just tickled to be part of this effort and stand ready to help India in training. The Algae Foundation, again, with its efforts of workforce development and training, has courses and lessons to teach people on seaweed farming and also microalgae farming, which India has you know, some very big corporate partners, including the Alliance Corporation. So when you say algae, you should, you know, not discharge both the fact that microalgae and seaweeds can be farmed very successfully in India. So I look forward to continuing our relationship.
Well, Thank you. Thank you very much, EK, and for coming in a very short notice and participating in the. It's nice to see your work and look forward to see you in India. Look forward for your active collaboration and say my hello to your family and my friend collaborator Charles. Thank you very much
Yes.
for the presentation. And
God bless.
now our
And
next. Yes, EK.
no, I was just going to wish everyone to stay safe and out of harm's way with COVID. So God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mr. Sri Kumar Suranarayan. He is the managing director and co-founder of C6 Energy Private Limited at Bangalore, and he was formerly president of research and development and chief scientific advisor at Biocon Limited in Bangalore for 25 years, and also served as an adjunct faculty at the Department of Biotechnology as well as IIT Madras. He was also the Chief Executive Officer at THSTI in the NCR region. He holds a degree in Chemical Engineering from IIT Madras, as well as a postgraduate degree in Biotechnology from IIT Delhi. He has been conferred with a Distinguished Alumnus Award by the IIT Madras in 2009. With this introduction, I invite Mr. Sri Kumar to give his presentation.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, the floor is yours.
May I request, in the interest of time, the organizers to just play my video?
Can organizers put its slides, please?
Thank you very much.
It's already on.
Can you share his
It's
slides?
visible on the screen, sir.
Sea plants is a very versatile, sustainable industrial raw material for agri-feed, chemicals, and energy. Truly, with all the excitement that's going on about sea plants, it is really an opportunity for us to look at how versatile this material is and how it can actually help to meet many of the sustainability goals and the self-sufficiency goals of India. So just to get started, therefore, the sea plant cultivation, and sea plants are also known as seaweeds or also, they're basically available, at least the tropical versions. There are very many different kinds. The best way to look at farming, growing sea plants, is like farming on the ocean. And like any other farming, sea plants, when they grow, they capture solar energy. Now, it does make sense to capture solar energy. As you can see from this map, much of the solar energy on the planet falls on the sea. And the sea plants and the warmest areas are in the tropics. Therefore, the sea plants, growing tropical sea plants, which are very fast growing, and there are many varieties known already, Capophycus, Eucuma, Gracilaria, these are all tropical sea plants. They have a very short growing cycle of 45 days. And because of the characteristics of the tropical areas where the temperature is almost invariant throughout, the sea temperature is almost invariant throughout the year, this cultivation can literally be carried out throughout the year. These characteristics make sea plant as an ideal agricultural industrial raw material. It's, compared to land cultivation, sea plant cultivation is okay, you can get the raw material every day of the year, all year round. So that makes it extremely versatile, unlike even agriculture. So currently, however, the way sea plants are cultivated, they're very labor intensive, as you can see from these pictures. For example, in the top left picture, this is a sea plant cultivation in the Philippines, where you can see these young women take a harvested bunch of sea plants, and then they take a small bit and they tie it into this blue colored string that you see here. And then similarly in Rameshwaram, India, you can see this woman actually tying the sea plant in small bunches onto the strings. The men go out, they put these sea plant which are tied on strings, they put it into the water, and the sea plant grows in the water, and in about 45 days, it grows to about 4 to 5 times its original size, and it's harvested. Again, it's a very manual operation. And once it's harvested, a small portion of the sea plant is taken and is put back into this process here, and the rest of it, about 80% of it, is harvested. So as you can see, while the cultivation is labor intensive, all these operations, it does provide an employment for a lot of the coastal people. And that's a good thing. But also, because of the labor costs, the sea plant biomass costs are high for many applications. What do I mean by that? Now, you see, like any other agricultural biomass, the sea plant has many potential uses. But many of those uses are today not viable because of our high costs, and also about the, it's the amount of sea plants that are available. How versatile are the sea plants? And I will talk more about it. But you can see that sea plant biomass can not only be used for food ingredients, food additives, it can go to biofuels, it can go for making products that are useful in agriculture, it can go for making renewable organic chemicals, bioplastics, and also feed additives. So, but you can see that with the manual cultivation today, this is the cost, where it just allows certain applications to become feasible, like for example, specialty food ingredients, which is today the largest use of the sea plants. But if we can bring down the cost and increase the production, then all of these bulk food, feed ingredients, renewables, bioplastics, and even perhaps biofuel can become visible. So can become viable. So can we do that? Yes, because unlike agriculture, where the cost of agricultural inputs involves, to carry out agriculture, not only do you need land, you need irrigation water, and then you need fertilizer, and then you need pesticides, insecticides. So these are all agricultural inputs, and of course you need labor. But when you compare that to sea plants actually, there's vast amounts of sea available, but they don't need any irrigation water because there's plenty of seawater. All the nutrients that they need to grow are already available in the seawater. So they don't need any external fertilizers the cultivation today are such that you don't really need any pesticides or insecticides. Then the other inputs, that is carbon dioxide, is free, sunlight is free. The only input is cost as labor. So if we can improve labor productivity, then it is possible to reduce the cost of the sea plant. So many people are working on this, including our company, and we've looked at the various parts of the sea plant production process and have developed machinery to automate these processes. And all of these machineries have been put together in a kind of a sea tractor. We call it the sea combine. This is a picture of the sea combine prototype, which we have on our farms in Indonesia. And you can see that the sea combine actually can make large scale sea plant cultivation possible. So here, for example, at the bottom is an aerial picture, drone picture of our sea plant farms in Indonesia. And here is the sea combine right next to one of those seaweed farms. So it is possible in future to bring down the cost of the sea plant cultivation. And so let's go and examine what are all the products, how versatile sea plants are. Well, one of the current big uses for sea plants is to make a biostimulant. A biostimulant is something that improves crop yield and crop productivity. And we've tested our biostimulant, which is derived from these tropical sea plants in many countries, and we have seen wonderful results in the increase of yield and increase of even quality. So that is one kind of product that we can produce from sea plants. Another kind of product that can be produced from sea plants is a product that improves the natural defense systems in plants, and it reduces the impact of plant diseases. So in example, for example, viral diseases of plants are a big thing in India. And for example, we have shown that a particular fraction can improve the resistance of papayas to a virus called ring spot virus, and it improves the yield. So this work has been done at the University of Agricultural Sciences in Bangalore. Another kind of sea plant derived product is for aquaculture, where we have seen that, extracts of Capophycus, specific extracts, can improve the growth, salinity, stress tolerance, and even resistance to Vibrio in shrimp. And this has actually been published. So these are also the kind of products that can be produced from sea plants. So you can see that's agriculture, aquaculture. Sea plant derived products can also be used to produce bioplastics, biodegradable plastics. And as you can see here are examples of actually sheets, pouches and bags and straws that have been derived. So for this one requires very large volumes, but it is definitely possible to do that. Apart from this, it is also possible to make organic chemicals. And in fact, one of the most fascinating and interesting things, if we could really produce sea plants on a large scale, is to be able to make crude oil from sea plants. So we have actually demonstrated that it's possible to make biocrude, and it can be done with a process called hydrothermal liquefaction, which is an accelerated conversion process, high temperature and pressure, that mimics what happens actually in nature, when petroleum is made from plant matter. But this crude oil can be formed. And if you can actually do this biocrude is completely renewable. And what is the real excitement here is that if you look at India, for instance, so for example, in 2025, the projected crude oil requirement for India is likely to be of the order of 300 million tons. And for that, we would require 1,000 million tons of dry biomass. And there is not enough waste biomass available. For example, in 2025, we only expect to have about 183 million tons of waste biomass. Whereas if you actually wanted to make all of the crude oil by biomass, you would need 1,200 million tons. So this is what I call the biomass gap. And can we make, and no, there is not more land available. We have maximized our agriculture. So that's 183 million tons is unlikely to grow very much. So is it possible that we can conceive of a bold vision for India where, could we grow sea plants in the ocean, in the exclusive economic zone around India? Could that be a pathway to carbon neutrality and strategic self-sufficiency, where we can be completely independent of imported crude oil? Well, it certainly looks possible because, sea plants, like the ones I showed you earlier on, have a reported productivity of about 100 tons per hectare. And, with about 120,000 square kilometers of ocean farm, which is roughly the size of Tamil Nadu, a little smaller, one could produce 1,200 million tons of biomass, which, if you recall from the previous slide, is the amount we need to make. So that is already, but we have 2.3 million square kilometers of exclusive economic zone. That's to be used, and India is a tropical country. The Andaman and Nicobar alone have about 600,000 square kilometers. So if you could visualize ocean farming, for example, in the Andaman and Nicobar or around India, even in the Lakshadweep Islands or of the southern coast, it may be possible if we do our research right and deploy our technologies, that we could make all of the biomass that we need, not only to satisfy our bio crude oil needs, but also to make all the other wonderful products from sea plants. And that is the real opportunity that's there in India. I really appreciate this chance to speak to you about the huge potential of the sea plants. It's something that I believe India should embark upon with all the resources that it can afford to put into this. And we certainly have the technology to be able to achieve many of these goals. Thank you very much. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sri Kumar. We'll take the questions at the end because we have two more speakers, and one is from Philippines, another is from Malaysia. Because of the time difference and because Professor Levin, it was 3 o'clock in the morning, so since he had to leave, we took his questions first. So our next speaker is Dr. Anesia Hutrado from Philippines. She is a scientist and consultant in seaweed tissue culture and aquaculture in Philippines. At present, Dr. Anesia is the chair of the Integrated Services for the Development of Aquaculture and Fisheries, and she has been involved in partnering with developing countries in the various types of global seaweed projects. And she has served as a scientist at the Aquaculture Department, Southeast Asian Fisheries Development Center at Iloilo in Philippines for more than 20 years. Anisha finished her PhD in phycology from the Kyoto University in Japan way back in 1988 as a Mombuso scholar, and she has worked closely with the farmers and with various international funding agencies. And I know Arnie for quite a long time, and Annie, it's very nice to see you here. We met the last time here in Chennai during the conference, but it is very nice to see you virtually here in this COVID time. Otherwise, it would have been very nice to have you here in Delhi in person. Never mind, with this background, I request you to give your presentation and your vision for the seaweeds, because you have traveled in India last year, you have gone to the field, and you were one of the leading phycologists in Philippines who has contributed substantially in terms of Capaphycus cultivation. Your input will be extremely important for the development of seaweeds industry, especially in India, as we are running shortage of quality planting material. Annie, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Saho, and for the organizer for this invite to join everybody. So I would like to request the organizer to please play my MP4 video. Good afternoon to all, and hope everybody's doing great despite the pandemic. Thank you, Pravas, for the invite to great this India Seaweed 2021. Today's talk centers on seaweed nurseries and innovations in field cultivation towards a sustainable farming of euchymatoids. To begin with, the world's leading seaweed producing region is Asia, which comes from China with cold species like Pyropia, Saccharina, and Undaria, with more than 20 million tons fresh weight, followed by Indonesia with Capophycus and Euchyma, and a litter of Gracilaria with more than 9.9 million tons fresh weight, then the Republic of Korea, which produces the same species like China with 1.8 million tons, then the Philippines with 1.5 million tons fresh weight, and Malaysia with 188,000 tons fresh weight. As far as Capophycus and Euchyma production is concerned, Southeast Asia region is the major producing region like Indonesia, the Philippines, and Malaysia. Since India is still nascent in commercial farming of Capaficus, the volume of production is still small. The government of India is really serious in developing their seaweed industry as one of their flagship aquaculture activities like the Philippines, Indonesia, and Malaysia. The question is, what do we do in order to have a sustainable and strong seaweed aquaculture industry? This talk will tackle two major issues to reach this goal, and hopefully this will help the government of India propel their seaweed aquaculture industry to a higher notch. One is the establishment of seaweed land sea-based nurseries, and two, innovations of farming techniques, that is, the creation, development, and implementation of process or service with the aim of improving efficiency, effectiveness, or competitive advantage. Thus, a paradigm shift from traditional practices to major changes in the concepts and practices of how something works or is accomplished are very imperative. Is there a need to have established land sea-based nurseries? Yes. Why? In order to have a year-round availability of seedlings or propagules, sustained farming, stable income, stable supply of RDS for carrageenan, agar, and alginate, and to have a robust, strong, sustainable industry. Is there a need to have established land sea-based nurseries? How? There are three approaches. One, use of micropropagated plants. Two, use of plantlets from spores. And three, use of vegetative plants or cuttings selected from the harvest. First, let's take a look at the advantages and disadvantages in using sporulation and micropropagation techniques in producing new seedlings. In a spore, there are thousands of spores per sporangium per plant that can be obtained, which are more robust than the haploid progenies. However, the seasonality of fertile plants, low survival of spores compounded by slow growth and development of spores to a young plant make sporulation longer and more difficult to do in order to obtain new plants. Whilst in micropropagation, there is an easy access of explant or mother plant that is year-round, as long as there are young and healthy mother plants available. In a shorter period of time, direct shoots regenerate to a new plant. The use of inexpensive and effective culture medium like the seaweed extract with or without PGRs is highly economical and efficient. Further, through micropropagation, the new plants establish more quickly, grow more vigorously and bigger, has shorter and more uniform production cycle, and lastly, produce higher yields than conventional propagules. However, there are few disadvantages, especially when using inorganic culture media in producing cali, which is longer to differentiate to a new young plant. Also, it is expensive to use inorganic culture media, which involves a mixture of NP, vitamins, and antibiotics. In micropropagation, there are two ways to achieve new plants. One, through direct regeneration, wherein the seaweed apices are induced and developed directly from an explant without going through the initial callus phase. And two, indirect regeneration or callus induction. An initial stage of callus proliferation and growth occurs, followed by the induction of shoots and the development of these tissues to a new young plant. In the direct regeneration, it takes only 6 stages to complete the cycle of having a new plant with the use of seaweed extract as the main ingredient with or without PGR at controlled laboratory conditions. And it takes 4 to 5 months to have a new good quality seedlings from the lab, land sea-based nurseries to outplanting. Sorting or selecting of sections with shoots which perform faster growth rate at early stage is of paramount importance. In this way, an almost homogeneous plants are outplanted for sea-based nursery and finally for field cultivation purposes. This slide shows the different actual stages of different strains of K. alvarezi from the lab to the sea. This was done with my collaboration with USM Penang, Malaysia for the lab activities and field cultivation at Semporna, Sabah. The same with K. striatus from the lab mass propagation to the sea-based nursery and then to outplanting. This slide shows the sea-based nursery in cooperation with the National Seaweed Technology and Development Center of Sorsogon, Philippines, and with the seaweed farmers in Semporna, Sabah. Another collaboration in field cultivation of micropropagated K. alvarezi with the Seaweed Farmers Association in Zamboanga City and Semporna, Sabah. These are all evidences of efficient process of obtaining new improved seedlings from direct micropropagation using seaweed extract biostimulant as the main culture medium. To highlight our results, and more importantly, to expedite the transfer of the micropropagation technology to generate mass production of Capoficus strains, a guidebook was written by me and my colleagues and is available for distribution either in the PDF or printed copy to interested parties. Please email the authors. For the indirect regeneration, that is through callus induction, it takes 80 stages to obtain new young plants. This needs also inorganic nutrient media, vitamin mixtures, and antibiotic mixtures. It is a longer process than the direct regeneration simply because calli are first induced to develop under specific lab conditions and culture media, and these calli are all undifferentiated cells which require specific temperature, light intensity, day length, and nutrient requirements before these undifferentiated cells develop to differentiated cells and finally to form a new young plant. This slide shows the stages of indirect regeneration of K. alvarezi from callus formation, plantlet regeneration, to land-based tank culture of young plants. This was done at SIFTEC before. 2. Use of spores to generate new young plants. Carposporophytes of Capoficus striatum from the wild were made to shed spores in the laboratory and grown in multi-step culture method until they reached maturity. For its succeeding transfer onto increasingly bigger culture vessels, there was a marked increase in the growth of carposporlings. When plantlets were ready for outdoor culture, they were placed in aquaria and concrete tanks and later moved to the sea in net cages and long line for grow-out culture. Successful growing sporulings from carposporophyte in the laboratory until they reach market size seems to depend on the states of sporulings and environmental factors such as photoperiod and temperature. 3. Use of vegetative plants selected from the harvest. Vegetative K. alvarezi tip in AMPEP prior to outplanting were grown in sea-based nurseries at 7 to 10 meters deep in cooperation with the seaweed farmers of Kasangyan Nursery Seaweed Enterprise in Zamboanga City over a 12-month culture period. Good growths were recorded from October to May, that is from the onset of northeast monsoon in October to the latter part of the dry month of May. However, low growth rates were recorded during the southwest monsoon, that is during the rainy months of the country, from June to September when temperature and salinity readings were lower from the optimum values. The use of AMPEP resulted to a higher growth rate of 6.6 to 7.5% per day after 21 days of culture in the seaweed nursery. Also, robust branches with abundant multilateral shoots were obtained, and ice and endophyte free with darkly pigmented seaweeds were harvested. How do we sustain seaweed farming amidst adverse effects of climate change? Let's go back to the very basic of aquaculture by adopting good aquaculture practices for seaweeds, namely proper selection of species or strains. If possible, we have to use our native species in our own locality or country. 2, adoption of suitable farming techniques for a seaweed for the season and location. 3, innovation of farming techniques. 4, close linkage with the competent authorities in the government, agencies, academia, and research centers. So for proper selection of species or strains, one has to consider the following characteristics. It must be fast-growing, not easily infected with ice or endophytes or any disease like the melathamnus. And of course, the ultimate goal is always to have a high carrageenan, agar yield, or even the alginate yield. Like the Capophycus of the different color morphotypes or strains, and the Gracilaria. You have plenty here in India, especially the Dura. Adoption of suitable farming technique for a season and location. Change from shallow to deeper water areas. Traditionally, we have been using the fixed-off bottom in the shallow water areas, especially in the seabed communities before. And now with the climate change, we have to go to deeper waters using the multiple rough long line and the hanging long line. It's more than 4 meters, more than during the lowest tide. Innovations of farming techniques, that is eco-friendly planting materials or supports like the soft plastic tie in tying seedlings, which is not eco-friendly, so we should stop using it. Styrofoam as floaters also. Instead, we have to use the loops, soft tie, use of PET bottles or rubber floats, and tubular nets, like in the following examples. I think India is already using the tubular nets for their Gracilaria cultivation. Innovations of farming techniques to include species, especially the native ones. For India, you have the Gracilaria dura and the Gelidiella acerosa. This must be tapped to maximize its potentials as a good source of agar, both for food and bacteriological applications. And 3, innovations of product applications, that is the use of seaweed extract as a vicostimulant, not only as source of SRC or RC, but I commend India because they have been using a lot of seaweed extract coming from Capophycus, and it has been said that it has enhanced growth rate, thallus pigmentation, they have bigger biomass, which means they are bigger in weight, and that it mitigates incidence of pests and even pathogens. 4, close linkage with competent authorities in the government agencies, academia, and research centers. There should be a strong linkage or cooperation between and among these major stakeholders of the industry, from the farmers association, academia, and the government. Otherwise, if you remove one, then it will be weak. To summarize what has been said earlier, the following are the good economic practices which everybody must consider seriously. Millennia versus centuries timelines. The needs as well as the environmental status of the past compared to the present generation are different. We have to adjust to the changing world. Monocrop is not advisable, especially when there is outbreak of disease and pest infestation. We have to diversify our crops. Small farmers are easier to manage and operate than huge farms. Crop rotation must be practiced also because the performance of one crop is not the same throughout the year. It is likely to be more of seasonal. Following or resting the same area being planted must be regularly done to replenish nutrient loss, especially in high stocking density system. There should always be a reserve area for future use for natural seed bank purposes. Precision economy must be the standard norm to follow, just like in agronomy. And lastly, well-funded, long-term, and dedicated institute of economy must be established with committed manpower and strong support from the government and the private sectors. All of these good agronomic practices will eventually lead to a very robust, strong, and sustainable seaweed industry, not only in the Philippines, in Southeast Asia, in India, but in the whole world. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Anasia Hurtado. It is always a pleasure listening to you and your innovative approaches. I heard about economy last year during your talk, and our good friend Alan Critchley. And I think India must utilize your knowledge, your help, and your services for the benefit of the seaweeds industry as well as research to move the seaweed research and industry forward. I think it is time for integration. It is time to work together. If we work in silos, if we work in isolation, it will be very, very tough to move and achieve our target. Thank you very much once again for agreeing to be part of this conference, and I'm really enriched with your presentation and the advances which has taken place during the recent years. Thank you once again. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, Annie.
Yeah, I will answer your first question later on during the open forum to,
yes, great.
to announce my involvement. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. I'm so happy to hear that. We have our next speaker and last speaker of the session, my good old friend, Professor Lim Peik from Marine Biotechnology Research Unit of Institute of Ocean and Earth Sciences, University of Malaysia. I know Professor Lim when he was a student, and when she was a student, and her supervisor, Professor Fang Sim Mui, who is one of the leading researcher and a marine biologist of the country. We met in several occasions in many countries, in various international forums. And also, it was always a pleasure meeting Professor Lim Fei, who is a leading taxonomist, not only in Malaysia, but in the whole world now. Lim, I remember my several visits to your laboratory in Malaysia, and thank you very much for your kind hospitality and also the wonderful work which your laboratory is doing. Professor Lim has more than 150 publications and more than 20 years of research experience in seaweeds. She has worked on Yukima, and also she was part of the Southeast Asian region's network since last 10 years and expanded the scope on the Global Seaweed Star program. Professor Lim Fake, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Sahu, for the very kind introduction. Yeah, I know Prof. Sahu for a very long time. Okay, so today is my privilege to be able to share with you part of my research. Okay, so can I request Mr. Pravesh to play my video, and then I will join in the Q&A session. Thank you.
Your video has been played, ma'am. It's there on the screen.
A very warm greeting to all of you.
Is it visible, ma'am?
I'm Lim from the Institute of Ocean
you,
and Earth Sciences, University of Malaya. First of all, I would like to thank the organizing committee of Civic India 2021 for inviting me to share with you on the topic of civic aquaculture industry in Malaysia, prospects and challenges. For today's talk, it is going to divide into three main components. Firstly is on natural ecosystem and resources, followed with civic aquaculture, in which I'm going to share on historical account, government incentive, current status and challenges, as well as the way forward. This is the map showing Malaysia. As we can see, Malaysia harbour an extensive coastline of 4675 kilometer with 480,000 kilometers square of continental shelf area. This has provided suitable for the growing of natural seaweed as well as potential to be expanded for seaweed aquaculture. At the same time, Malaysia also rich in seaweed resources, as of to date we have a total of 477 taxa of seaweed. Okay. Here showing you some of the existing species that are available in Malaysia. For example, Gassuralia, Calopa, Heliminia, as well as Sargassum, which are the species that we know that is very useful for various industry and can be used for commercialization. As of to date, Malaysia is the 8th largest seaweed production in the world. As for carrageenan production, we know that Southeast Asia is the largest global producer, with Indonesia and the Philippines are the leading country, followed with Malaysia and Tanzania. Okay. According to the aquaculture production in 2019, seaweed have contributed to the total of 51% of the aquaculture production. As regard of Malaysia, despite that having large area of sea area, which actually suitable for cultivation of seaweed, but the seaweed cultivation in Malaysia only concentrated in the state of Sabah, which is at the eastern side of Sabah, located in the area at Semporna, Tawau, Lahad Datu, and Kunat. Now let us look into as regard about history account of seaweed aquaculture industry in Malaysia. The seaweed aquaculture in Malaysia started in the late 1970s as trial project using traditional method, which contributed to the low productivity. In 1980, the government took over the project and introduced it to the Fishermen Committee as alternative jobs to generate additional income. In 1990, government proposed seaweed as the new commodity for development and come up with several initiatives such as providing funds to support the facility and invited the private sector to participate. And seaweed planting have been introduced as poverty eradication program. In year 2000s, the establishment of seaweed industrial zone in which under the National Agriculture Policy and considered as high impact project. The government listed seaweed as high value product from aquaculture subsector which contribute to balance of trade for the country. In year 2010, the seaweed commercial project approach was established under the new innovation technology environmental friendly under the government transformation program in which in this program mainly to strengthen the R&D and government have allocated more fund for R&D program to research institute and university. And actually under this program there is contribute greatly to the expansion as well as increased production of seaweed. Okay, so this is showing you some of the government incentive. 20110 is under third National Agriculture Policy. 2012 is Seaweed Cluster Project. 2015 is third Sabah Agriculture Policy, and 2016 is under 11 Malaysia Plan. Okay, all the various initiatives have the main intention that is to increase the production of seaweed in Malaysia. Okay, this is the graph showing the seaweed productions since year 2006. As we can see from the graph, from 2006 until 2012, there is increase of production. However, from after 2012, we can see the decline of production. And that is the decline of production could be due to several factors, which we are going to look into that later on. In order to combat the decline of the production, the government have introduced additional strategy plan for year 2020 until 2022, in which the cultivations of the seaweed divided into three main categories, in which nuclear project concentrated on individual family, cluster project is a community of a location, while mini estate project is concentrated in private sector. This is in hope that we'll be able to increase the seaweed production up to 70 million metric ton, as well as also for creating the job opportunity. The strategy involves support in upstream and downstream activity, extend farming area to more than 12,000 hectares, increase farm production, stabilize the seaweed price. As we know and aware that seaweed cultivation is actually a family and community based, and so as in Malaysia, despite there's encouragement of private sector involved, but as of to date, in terms of the number of participants, the largest number still come from family and community based. Okay. As regard with cultivation method, there's only one method that Malaysia is using, which is long line method. And the government is also trying to encourage that the cultivation method is based on environmental friendly, which is they hope to change the farmer from depending and using the recycled plastic bottle as floater to using much more environmental friendly floater. The Department of Fisheries Malaysia has also come out with the Good Aquaculture Practice Manual in hope to increase the seaweed production. Okay. As regards about the species of euchematode that is cultivated in Malaysia, in general, we share quite similar species with Indonesia as well as Philippines, in which the main species that is cultivated in Malaysia comprise of three species of Kappa ficus, which is Kappa ficus ourasia, Kappa ficus malaysianus, Kappa ficus stratus. As for Eucheuma, we only have one species, which is Eucheuma denticulatum. Now let us look into with regards about the genetic diversity of Kappa ficus and Eucheuma in Malaysia. Based on our study in year 2014, it has shown that in general, the genetic diversity that is cultivated in Malaysia for Kappa ficus ourasia, Kappa ficus stratus, Kappa ficus malaysianus is very low. With the low genetic diversity, it is not healthy for the aquaculture industry. Should any disease outbreak will take place, it can easily affect or wipe out the seaweed aquaculture industry. The same as regard about genetic diversity of Eucheuma, in which only 2 haplotypes were found cultivated in Malaysia. Farmers normally build the houses and drying platform close to the farm so that it will provide convenience when after harvesting the seaweed, they can directly bring to the house as well as drying platform to dry the seaweeds. The seaweed normally will be dried by spreading horizontally at the drying platform, and in order to increase the volume to dry the seaweed, some will hang them vertically, as well as some farmers will build rack to place the seaweed for drying. The government also built some infrastructure to support the seaweed farmer, in which these are some example of the drying platforms that is built for the seaweed cluster project. At the same time, through R&D, the government had tested new approaches for cultivation, harvesting, as well as for drying, in which this is showing that the cages approach and some of the example for harvesting seaweeds. And then as regard about tying seaweeds, new technique being introduced in order to speed up the tying process, as well as for drying method using solar and wind turbine. Despite of all the different various technology, however, that it is found not suitable to be used by the local farmer. For the dry seaweeds, they can be sold to the factory to be processed as semi-refined carrageenan or refined carrageen. In Malaysia, in total, we have 3 seaweed processing plants. Omigel was the first seaweed processing factory, but it have stopped the operation. As to date, there are still 2 factories that is existing, which is Lucky Frontier that produce semi-refined carrageenan as well refined carrageenan, and Takara is producing semi-refined carrageenan. However, based on my recent interview with the owner, that these 2 factory has stopped production. This is due to the reasons that the raw seaweeds that they acquire, the price is much higher and not profitable should they process into carrageenan or semi-refined carrageenan. This is mainly due to the competition in acquiring the dry seaweed from the middle person, in which the middle person, which was directly sell to overseas market, are giving much higher prices in comparison to the local factory. So beside processing into semi-refined carrageenan and refined carrageenan, as well as also export to the overseas as dry seaweeds. The seaweed harvested will also use for food and drink. They also sell as fresh salad in local market and also to produce snack as well as drink. In addition to them, some are used to process as cosmetic and toiletry. However, the market portion for food, drink, as well as cosmetic and toiletry contribute to only a very small percentage. So in order to sustain the seaweed industry in Malaysia, there's a need to have new innovation. For example, this newly established company in Malaysia is Rodomac, which the company focusing in producing seaweed-based bioplastic to be used, for example, to be used as wrapper for sushi, as well as grow fertilizer and trace element extract. Despite that Malaysia possesses the natural ecosystem as well as rich resources for the expansion of seaweed aquaculture industry in Malaysia, but we have seen the decline in terms of production since 2012. This could be due to the several issues and challenges that the industry are facing, and one of them is the cultivar. The same cultivar have been propagated vegetatively since its first introduction, and this has caused the decline as regard about productivity and also susceptibility to pests and disease. With the increased phenomenon of climate change, this has also giving further pressure onto the cultivar. At the same time, there's a need to improve on the aquaculture practice, especially this will help to minimize the occurrence of pests and disease. Price instability is also one of the main factors in determining whether the industry will attract or shun people away from implementing the aquaculture. So the price of seaweed in Malaysia is very much depend on the demand of the carrageenan, as the seaweed that has been harvested is mainly being sold for the production of carrageenan. Besides that, security is also one of the issues that the farmers are facing, as the location where we are cultivating seaweed is the area that is prone to pirate attack. Okay. So in order to overcome the various issues and challenges, there's a need of research to further understand and to help to provide a good management practice. Okay, so in Malaysia, we are blessed to be involved in the UKRI GCRF project, which is Global Seaweed Star Program, which is safeguarding the future of the seaweed industry in developing country. It is a 4-year multidisciplinary strategic program, which is primarily focused in 3 DAC list countries: Philippines, Malaysia, and Tanzania, in hope that we can use the UK specialist capacity to grow the research and innovation capacity of the DAC list country engaged in seaweed farming, in which this program focus on 4 areas, which is disease detection, farm management and regulation, which is on biosecurity, improvement of genetic resources and stock resilience, and social economy, in which we hope through this program, okay, we are able to secure a resilient food system, protection for environmental shock, and supporting sustainable livelihood through innovation. This program is ongoing, and we are going to conclude this project in December of this year. We hope that when this program is concluded, we are able to share with you some of the findings that will assist to help the sustainability of the seaweed aquaculture industry in Malaysia. In order to continue to expand the industry and for sustainability of the seaweed aquaculture industry in Malaysia, we need to have a continuous supply of robust or versatile seedling, which is fast growth rate, pest, disease, and climate change resistant with high genetic diversity. There's a need of improve the aquaculture practice, especially with the introduction of biosecurity application. There's a need to increase the cultivation area, diversifying the value chain, not solely depend on carrageenan, but for the production of other value-added products. There's also the need to diversifying the cultivated species, and most of all, when we carry out all the various activity of aquaculture, we have to make sure that they are SDG compliant. Okay. So with this, I would like to end my talk. Thank you for your attention. At the same time, I would like to acknowledge various funding agencies for supporting some of the research work that have been mentioned in this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Lim. I could see you the in the background. I can see in the background. It's a lovely background which you have there, and it's a wonderful presentation. I remember last time I visited your institute, I saw that Muruku, and also a lot of developments which has taken place during the last 10 years since we last met in Malaysia in the last meeting which we had, that international conference. It is really a wonderful presentations. So friends, with this presentation, we finished all our presentations. The 4 presentations are really, 5 presentations were really excellent. Now this is the time for us to interact and take some pertinent questions. I think all our speakers, starting from Professor Ike Levine, Dr. Kumar, and Dr. Anesia and Dr. Lim, wonderful presentations. A lot of development has taken place, and we in India should take the advantage and the benefits of your knowledge which you have gathered over a long period of time. And now the floor, I will keep it open since our policy makers are there from the Ministry Department of Fisheries. I would like to first invite any questions or suggestions or any collaboration they would like to go for. Anybody, I could see Mr. Swine, Dr. Jena, and Dr. Balaji, they are all here. Can we have some interactions with the experts if we have any pertinent questions, or what type of actually?
Professor Sao, in fact, we have got a few questions. In fact, and I clock. Professor Sao, could you hear me? Hello, could you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah. So we had received a couple of questions, but in the similar line. But I am clubbing the questions and asking one question. In fact, okay. So since the secretary was mentioning about the price issue, in fact, always we focus on overproduction. Sometimes that we have to be cautious about overproduction, as well as giving fair price to the producers and farmers. Okay. My question is to all panelists, but specifically to Surya Kumarji, Sri Kumarji. Always we focus on the increasing the production. Even you discussed about how we can increase more production, and this is a genuine concern. Sometimes the producers, the farmers, they are not getting the right price. This is not related to seaweed. Also, it is related to agriculture. You might have seen also. So, what are the steps we should take to prevent such kind of scenario where the seaweed farmers will not be getting the right price? This is the most important factor, because many times that discourages many local community to take up this farming.
Yeah.
So what is your view, and how can you fix it? Because since you can.
No, that's a very important question that, we always think about that. The main issue is not related to the price, but to the incomes that we want to deliver to the farmers, right? We want to ensure that our farmers get a decent income. At the same time, as I explained in my presentation, the seaweed is a very versatile raw material. Today, it is at the price at which it's being cultivated, only a few food ingredient applications are possible. And that is mainly carrageenan, for instance, for Kappa ficus. And the world markets for carrageenan are already saturating. This is very important to remember that though in India, we may not have enough production, the world markets for carrageenan are saturating. There is really no other application that has opened up for seaweeds in spite of the vast potential. Now, some of those applications, like I mentioned, the ultimate application being biofuel would open up, or even bioplastics or biostimulants can open up at much lower prices of seaweed. So how do we balance this issue of giving the farmers a good income versus doing that? Now, if you look at the kind of amounts of seaweed that we are producing today, okay, in our countries, I think we are lucky if in terms of dry tons, we are producing 1,000 dry tons. Okay, it's very small quantities. But the kind of biomass that we actually need at the appropriate price could be more than 1,000 million tons, 1,000,000 times more than what we need to produce. That is the potential. Now imagine if we brought in mechanization. Now this is still a way away. And we could improve by mechanization if you could improve, say, each farmer's productivity by a factor of 50-fold, which is easily possible. Okay, like that is what tractors did for agriculture. Now, if we pay each farmer 5 times more than what they are getting right now on a monthly basis, even then we have a potential to bring down the cost of seaweed by a factor of 10 and explode the applications. So what is really important in this process is two things. One is that we must focus on other applications of seaweed because of its versatility, whether it's bioplastic, all for climate change. The other thing we must do is make sure that in the process we are able to produce very large quantities. But if you produce large quantities at a high price, there will be no market. You'll get the same oversupplied because the price is not good. So we must find a way to do it. I believe this is possible. So in my example, for instance, if the country needs a million times more seaweed than what we are producing right now, and we can pay each farmer 5 times more, the amount of employment, additional employment we can generate would be more than 1,000 times more than what we have. You know, this is the real potential. We have to think different. We have to think big. We have to use our technology. We have to use our institutes. We have to use our resources. Think big, think different, and manage this. There are many ways in which you can do it. A lot of very leading scientists and people are thinking about this problem all the while, and there are solutions that are possible. I'm happy to discuss that in more detail at an appropriate time.
Thank you, Mr. Srikumar. I think one thing which I saw, and it has been the practice, I see always a lot of collaborations between Philippines, Malaysia, Vietnam, amongst the Southeast Asian country, especially in the seaweeds, which is quite vibrant. Isn't it, Dr. Anesia and Dr. Lim? Over the last 20-25 years, I have seen a lot of research collaborations between the laboratories within the Southeast Asian region. But such type of collaborations of India with other leading countries in a large scale is lacking. And what I have seen in my experience during the last 20 years, I mean, whether it is Philippines or Indonesia or Malaysia, even now the new player Vietnam, people have come way forward, much ahead, expanded your area. And as you expand your cultivation area and volumes and other things, new challenges have come, and you try to partially solve these challenges with new innovations. I mean, it's amazing the type of work which is going on. See, while the processing for the high value products go on in various developed country, but most of the biomass production cultivation is taking place in the Asian or Asia Pacific region, and that's very interesting. So it's time to collaborate. It's time to, speed up our production, the quality planting materials, and various issues which I have raised. This thing, Dr. Anesia, you wanted to say something. Annie, can you unmute and come on live? Dr. Anesia, would you like to have some comments? Dr.
Okay.
Lim, till we catch her, would you like to say something?
Is this pertaining to Series Kumar?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Actually, production here in the Philippines at the very present times, we are having a good price because it's rainy season, so it's a limited supply. So we have this what you call, if it is a limited supply, then there's a tendency to have a higher price compared in Indonesia. According to my friend, they have a bit surplus of production. Hence, the price now of Indonesia is lesser than the Philippines. We have a higher price now. So, but it will be reversed when we have another season. So it depends on the season, actually, on the production. So, well, even though at present times we are in COVID pandemic, we are still farming, but to a limited scale, because people cannot move as we moved before. So, well, hopefully the pandemic will be easing out in the towards the end of the year, and we will have a better production. But still, commenting on the good enough for India, you have the biostimulant. You are more of the biostimulant production. But here in the Philippines, even though I have been advising the private sector to go into biostimulant, as if it's not they cannot readily welcome yet. They still want Karaginan, the SRC, the RC, and the chips. So probably there will come a time that they will be, when the market's already saturated with SRC and RC, but they still see that there is a rosy market for especially now the pet food. Pet food SRC is gaining again market, according to our friends in the United States. So they cannot just shift easily to other diversified products. But India, even though your production of Capophycus is still limited, you still go on for biostimulant, because I think you are mixing it with other seaweeds like the Gracilaria and Sargassum. And this is what I can say about Capophycus production of India. Following up the comment of Dr. Saho a while ago, that probably my expertise will be needed by India. Yes, indeed, I am there already, Dr. Saho. I'm trying to help and assist the CSM CRI. In fact, we have already produced some seedlings distributed to some farmers in the Tamil Nadu Mandapan area. But my only problem, or the challenge at the present time, is how to scale up to meet the needs of the farmers. And much to my desire, because you have still limited explants or mother plants for tissue culture, but slowly they are going there. They are there already. So it's just a matter of scaling up, and soon enough you will have some production. Good for the industry. Yeah,
Great.
I have started assisting CSM CRI through Aqua Agri since last year. So
Yes.
we have already the last picture, or the picture is already the product of our efforts.
Yes, yes. I am in touch with the Aqua Agri, as well as I am now a member of the Research Advisory Committee of the CSMCRI. So I am aware about a little bit of work which they are doing. But coming to your point, of course, Philippines is a major producer of carrageenan, but India, the requirement large 1.3 billion people, so our agricultural requirement is much higher. So it all depends on the priority of industries, but still the question remains, the big question remains, the two things according to me in the Indian situation. One is the quality, the volume, and second is diversification. If we put all our eggs in one basket, as you mentioned, don't go for monoculture, that will kill it. So we need to go for polyculture. We need to go for the species diversification, which is very, very important. We need to develop the technology. We need to move beyond Kappa ficus. Kappa ficus is fine, but Gracilaria production is virtually negligible in India. Your brown seaweeds production is no technology is available. It's all coming from the wild harvest, you know, but these are in the small quantity. So to have the future requirement, we need to actually think big and go big. Only at the national level, collaboration is not going to help. It requires a sustained effort of international collaboration. It requires also a continuous, monitoring. And this is a COVID time. Last 2 years, it has been very, very tough. Hope that next year it will be something better. Dr. Lim, since we are running out of time and you have another meeting, you have to leave. So yes, Professor Lim, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Thank you, Prof. Sahu. So,
Professor Lim,
yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah. Any comments from your side?
I think, yeah,
Yes.
I think I agree with you that India do have a great potential in terms of coming to the seaweed aquaculture. And yep, and with the current existing that that you have, I think the best way to start is to diversify the species and not to learn the lesson from Malaysia, because Malaysia we concentrate mainly
problems
Kappa ficus and Eugemas. So when you concentrate on one species, there is a pressure in terms of the it depends on the price stability, as well as diversify in terms of the product, because Malaysia in the past our harvest is mainly for carrageenan value change. So the thing is, when you depend on carrageenan value change, it is also very depending on the global markets. So the price stability is not there. So the price fluctuates, and also the thing is the expansion of area is very important, and find a suitable area. So I think, and we know that seedling have been a pressure, and the initiative that carried out by Dr. Anisha and her team, co-worker, is very important. At the same time, I think we also shouldn't neglect of looking for a native species in our own water, because we need to diversify not only about species, but we talk about also the genetic composition that is able to help us to withstand in terms of the climate change. We know it's quite frequent, and we know that it is affecting us as if we continue to use the same seedling all the time. So, and I think because we share the same species of that we are cultivating for Southeast Asia, India, because we have a similar climate. So I think the collaboration, among various countries, international collaboration will definitely help to build up, because it's not, when you talk about aquaculture, it's not only about products. We also need some research in terms of the biological aspect that will be a good support in order to help you to move into a good aquaculture practice. So this is what I would like to say. Yeah, thank you.
I think Professor Sahu. So
thank you, Professor Lim. Thank you, Professor Anastasia. I think anybody? Yes.
No, I was just suggesting. So we have taken 30 minutes more time.
Hello.
Could you hear me? Is it okay?
Hello.
Hello. Am I audible? Am I audible? Hello.
What?
Okay. No, I was
Yes,
suggesting.
Pravash, you're audible.
Yeah.
I think there is a voice break. Is it
30 minutes more, so we can conclude the session. You can conclude the session. And whatever questions we will have, I will ask my team to just email to the respective
Mr. Prabhas, your voice is not audible. There is a.
So is my voice audible? Sir?
Yeah, your voice is audible.
All right. So what Pravash is trying to say that, we still
No,
have 30
I
minutes.
couldn't hear anything. There is a noise disturbance. There is a noise disturbance from.
Sony,
Yeah. You want me to close the session, na?
Yes.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir. So we were suggesting, sir,
You
that although
want me to close the session?
Yes, so you can conclude the session, sir.
There is a serious. I can conclude. Okay. Thank you. So I sincerely thank all my speakers in this session, and also I thank the organizer. Especially my sincere thanks to Professor Ira Levin, Mr. Sri Kumar Suryanarayan, Dr. Anicia Hurtado, Professor Lim Peck for staying almost a full day, skipping their lunch time for this wonderful session which we had. I also thank Mr. Jain Swine, Dr. Jain Jena, Dr. Jay Balaji, who could stay for this particular technical session, which is quite enlightening for all of us. And also Mr. Prabhas Pradhan for organizing such a wonderful meeting in such a short notice. And I'm sure the deliberations, the recommendations, and the output which will come out of this conference, especially this session, will be very, very useful for our country to take the seaweed cultivation and processing much, much ahead in the near future. And also I thank all the participants who were patiently hearing to all of us on this particular session. Although there are a little bit of technical hitch, but I'm happy that we could be able to finish little late, but never mind that for participating. Thank you. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Thank you so much, Professor Sahu. This was such a delight that we could get this opportunity to listen to you. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Sahu. I was just expressing my gratitude on behalf of all our team from AgriPost that we are so delighted that we could hear you and your entire respectable team who has spoken so well, and they have given us a new insight. And I'm sure that, all of us who have participated today on this particular session, they are going to take away such good things about seaweed and the knowledge and professional aspect of it, that is going to be hugely beneficial to all of us. So we are really grateful to all of you who have been such a valuable speaker on this particular session. And soon, 2 o'clock, we'll have another session where we all request everyone to join in and give your full participation. I can see Professor Sahu waving already. So thank you. And we are just loving, ma'am, thank you so much for providing us that lovely backdrop. It's so hot in India. So looking at that beach and your smiling face gave us so much of strength and happiness. And we had a joyous and entertaining session. Yes, that beach drop did the trick. So thank you so very much. Thank you everyone for this beautiful session. We shall see each other soon. Thanks from Gitanjali, Pravash, and the entire team for this moment. We are going to come back at 2 o'clock again. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you
very much. See you soon.
Thank you, Professor Lim. Thank you, Ricardo.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.